billion.
8 billion people with your own story every day, every news day. We make sense of all the noise because you need to know what's important for you, your family, your business, and how it affects your story. Breaking news, the top stories,
All the sports updates as they come in.
and the very latest entertainment news from Nigeria and the world. Our stories are your story.
From our headquarters in Lagos, Arise Newsday for 3 hours every day.
Make every day a news day.
This is the heart of the business world in Lagos, the commercial capital of Africa's largest economy.
These aren't just numbers. They represent our nation's sharpest minds, our most successful investors, our most inspiring bosses. In Nigeria, business is in our DNA. From micro-business to startups to world-conquering brands. Every success story has something in common. They all started somewhere. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Global Business Report gets to the heart of business. We bring you the stories making headlines across the globe with in-depth analysis from experts and executives.
This is not business as usual. This is the Global Business Report.
Good morning. You're watching the morning show here on Arise News. I am Kayode Akintemi.
And I'm Ayom Myro Esse. We've got a great show lined up for you over the next 3 hours. So sit back, relax, and let's kickstart your day because the morning show begins right now.
Yesterday, one of the headlines that dominated the news was the Labour Party's presidential candidate Peter Obi's address at the Chatham House in London. Obi discussed his vision for policy change and institutional reforms and also said he will tackle the persistent power crisis in Nigeria, amongst other issues. Another story in the news was the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar's visit to Lagos for the presidential dialogue with the Nigerian Economic Summit Group. Atiku used the opportunity to call on all Nigerians to avoid electing his counterpart in the All Progressives Congress, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He also lambasted the current administration, saying they have made more Nigerians poorer. Joining us on the show later today as we take a look at Peter Obi's address at Chatham House in London is Kenneth Okonkwo, spokesperson for the Obidati Presidential Campaign Council. We will also be engaging Professor Usman Yusuf, former Executive Secretary NHIS and a strong supporter of Atiku Abubakar's candidacy for president in 2023. He'll be speaking about Atiku's dialogue with the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, his chances in the coming election, and also the latest call for his arrest by the Presidential Campaign Council of the All Progressives Congress.
We'll also catch up on news making headlines across the globe. Michael Wilson will give us updates on global business outlook, while Rotus Odiri will update us with activities from the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. Aaron Akerejola will be taking us through sporting activities across the globe. We'll also review today's newspapers with Arise News analyst Emmanuel Efeni, while Ojiope will fill us in on what's trending around the world. It's going to be all that and a whole lot more today on The Morning Show. Welcome back to The Morning Show here on Arise News. It's now time to take a look at news stories making headlines around the globe. The Governor Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, has resumed duty at his annual vacation abroad. The Central Bank explained that Mr. Emefiele, who proceeded on leave in December 2022, resumed work this Monday. This is contrary to reports that the governor was deliberately staying away to avoid a purported arrest by the Department of State Services. In a statement issued yesterday, the Director, Corporate Communications, CBN, Mr. Osita Nwanisobi, explained that Emefiele, who proceeded on leave in December 2022, resumed work yesterday. According to him, the governor resumed with renewed vigor to perform his duty ahead of the first Monetary Policy Committee meeting of the year scheduled for January 23 to 24th, 2023. He stated that Emefiele remains committed to performing the task before him in line with his oath of office and the policy direction of President Muhammadu Buhari. Well, Governor Godwin Emefiele is back, contrary to a number of whispers around his explained that he's been on holiday and he's now back to get to work.
Yeah, it's good that the man is back. From my perspective, I don't know what the whole storm is about. If there is any reason for DSS or any of the security agencies to have anything to say to him, they should just say it. It's not good enough that there is so much rumor milling around, and it is not good for our economy, it's not good for our government when there are government agencies that seem to be all around the place trying to insinuate that there is question to be answered, but the person that should answer the question is not being asked the question in the first place. It just doesn't look good for Nigeria as a whole. If there is an issue, then that issue should be addressed very quickly. Not that we'll have this drip of information. He will be arrested, he has run away, he has not run away. It just doesn't look good. Yeah. It doesn't look good.
Yeah. Just the history. So we talked about this a number of times with regards to the DSS going secretly to approach a court for to have a warrant to arrest or to bring him to detain the CBN governor, which the High Court, the Federal High Court in Abuja, with Justice Soho throwing out the case, saying that he lacked merit. After which a number of civil society organizations and lawyers had come out to say that they should, the DSS should obey the rule of law in terms of the case with Emefiele. And people have wondered why. What the charge was anti-terrorism charges or terrorism charges. And the question around this is why now? Following some policies that his office had circulated. One, the redesigning of the Naira notes, and two, very importantly, on the 6th of December, when he talked about the limits on withdrawal of cash over the counter in banks. Initially, he had said it was 100,000 Naira for individuals and 500,000 Naira for organizations. But following, and he had mentioned that if the CBN was open to listening to feedback, concerns from Nigeria, we call the National Assembly had invited him in, where he was represented by the Deputy Governor, Mrs. Aisha Ahmed, who responded to a number of questions around the reason behind the limits on currencies. There had been speculations around, but she had talked about the fact that part of the responsibility of the CBN is to create fiscal policy like this in order to address issues around inflation, to mop up excess cash in circulation, for the CBN to have to control cash that's in circulation in Nigeria. And so these were some of the things that she responded, and I wasn't targeted at anyone. It wasn't meant to be it wasn't a policy that was person-driven or politically driven. However, we still saw a case where the DSS, despite the court ruling, there were still, attempts by the DSS, according to some stories, that they were still looking for him. And so people thought, okay, where is Governor Godwin Emefiele? The deadline set for this limits over-the-counter withdrawal had passed. At the end of the month, we're going to be moving away from using the old notes. They become obsolete. They won't be used in circulation as legal tender anymore. So a number of people had asked this question. And again, some lawyers, in fact, the report talks about Mr. Adeboruwa speaking about the fact that whilst no public officer, aside those who are constitutionally immune from being persecuted, the public officers are accountable by law. However, if the DSS doesn't have a case, as has been determined by the courts, then they should desist from this attempt to detain him, to hold him. And the big question we had asked Mr. K was, who is against Mr. Godwin Emefiele? And the more important question, why? What's the agitation for? Why is this penchant for wanting to get him detained?
It just looks like an effort to embarrass the man.
Yes.
That's what it looks like. Whether that's the intention or not, that's something debatable. But it looks like an effort to embarrass him, and it does not look good for this government, because the executive is made up of all of the people in the DSS, all of the people in the Nigerian army and all that. That's the executive arm of government. And if part of the executive arm of government is embarrassing another part of the executive arm of government, it doesn't look good at all. There is no other way to describe it. It's not a good thing. If the man has done anything wrong, then like a lawyer, Ebun Adeboruwa, a senior advocate of Nigeria, had said, they should go to court. They should take the cause and charge. Arresting the person, arresting someone before you go to court is like a weird way. If you want an interrogation, invite him and have an interrogation. Finish your interrogation, put your case file together, then go to court. His lawyer will come and he will attend as well.
Absolutely.
But to continue to say you want to arrest and you want to detain is the old Nigerian regime, is the old Nigerian way of doing things. Arresting somebody is not necessary unless there is evidence that that person might run away once you go to court. And there's no evidence to that fact.
Exactly. Well, just to mention here, our sister organization, media organization, This Day had reliably found out that the president had to wade in and ask the DSS to obey the rule of law and to allow the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria do his work. Remember, at the end of this month, the old notes, 200 naira, 500 naira, 1,000 naira notes would be obsolete and would need to. And so the big question is, well, I don't know if you've seen the new notes, Mr. K.
I got a few 500 naira notes and just one 1,000 naira note since this has happened. But that actually should be the story we should be talking about, the fact that we're not having that new naira notes in circulation. You go to banks and you're told that you can only have one 1,000 naira note out of, if you ask for 50,000 or something, you can only have one. In which country is that done?
Is it meant to
UK
be
and
for
other
exhibition?
countries, when they share, when they have new currency notes, it goes on. It's seamless. But in Nigeria, it looks like everything has to be drip, drip, hard work, and you have to swear and scream and shout and cry if necessary before you see it get done. That should be the issue we should be discussing.
Absolutely will. That's all on the news headlines. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we will have Michael Wilson and Rotus Odiri to give us updates on global business activities and updates from the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. Stay with us.
I've been running my business on my own, trying my best to get it to the next level, but I really need some help to get ahead. I know just what to do, I'll vote it for my loans, overdraft, step by step to my dream business, we vote. Salary earners, entrepreneurs, get your loans with no collateral. Quick sign up, zero paperwork, step by step to your dream business, we vote.
Vault is available to individuals, SMEs, and corporate customers. Download Vault by Polaris Bank from the Google Play Store or Apple App Store to get started today.
Yesterday I got a call from Globe. I won a 3-bedroom bungalow.
Yes, guys! Guess what? I won a car. I won a generator by participating in the Festival of Joy promo by Glow.
Hey, don't do this one for me. Glow to make it set to me with sewing machine.
I won generator last year. This year I won for
It's a celebration like no other, with prizes like no other. 20 new houses to be won, 24 brand new cars, 200 sewing machines, 100 generators, 1,000 rechargeable fans. Glow Festival of Joy promo. Dial *611# now.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. The annual meeting of the World Economic Forum kicked off on Monday in Davos, Switzerland. On the agenda are geo-economic challenges, stagnant economic growth, and a deepening climate crisis. More than 2,700 leaders from 130 countries are attending this year's meeting, including some 50 heads of state and government.
We need that transfer of information and knowledge and innovation across borders to be able to lift living standards for all. So that has to be one core part of the discussions here.
So joining us now from Davos, Switzerland for more updates on the World Economic Forum is Arise business correspondent, Rotus Odiri. Rotus, good morning and welcome to the program this morning. So good to see you. It actually looks like, yes.
Good to be with you all.
Good morning, Rotus.
I've been to Davos and I know what the weather is like at this time of the year. It can be quite treacherous on the road and the cold, it's unbelievable. So I do sympathize with you. But first, let's start. What's the economic backdrop for Davos this year? What's the economic backdrop for Davos this year?
Yeah, the backdrop is one of an economic malaise. There is a chill in the air, and it's not just the weather. It's an economic chill. Just yesterday, the IMF said that economic fragmentation will wipe off about 7 to 7.5% off global GDP growth. You need to imagine what that means to knock off that amount. Michael Wilson will take you through China's latest GDP figures for 2023. I think they came in at 3%. This is an economy that was growing at 6.3, 6.5% annually. And you can imagine that knockoff down to 3%. So the backdrop is one of the big R word, recession. That little clip that you played right before you came to me, where it was being said that closing the income inequality gap is one of the missions of Davos. That has not been achieved. Right before the forum began, the World Economic Forum put out an economic report saying that there was a poly-crisis out there. That is a crisis from different fronts. They've not been able to close income inequality. There is the climate issue. There were activists that blocked a jet from flying in to Davos, saying that the rich and famous do not care about the environment because they're flying in on private planes. There's also, of course, the geopolitical concerns. The Russia-Ukraine war is now, by next month, that will have been on for a year. You've seen what that has done as far as pushing inflation upwards. The World Bank said about 5 million people in Nigeria fell into poverty because of inflation. So it's the fear of a global recession. I believe Kristalina Georgieva, the managing director of the IMF, who is here as well, said that about 1/3 of the global economy will fall into recession. Now, if that follows through, if that happens, you will have job losses, you have higher rates of poverty, reduction in economic output. So it's a very, very it's a gloomy backdrop for Davos 2023 this year.
Well, hello, Rotus in Chile, Davos. Good to see you. We understand there is a surprise meeting between Janet Yellen and China's Vice Premier Liu He in Davos. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, we just found out about that. China's Commerce Ministry just confirmed that they would be meeting today, or I believe tomorrow. So Janet Yellen is on her way to Africa, and so she just added this stop because Liu He, the vice premier, is on the agenda today in Davos, where he'll be giving a special address. So the understanding is that this surprise meeting is to allow the U.S. and China discuss a number of macroeconomic issues. Yellen wants to get an update on China's policy. They reversed their zero COVID policy. They've opened up their economy. It pushed up oil prices. Markets liked it. However, Asian markets today are down because of the GDP numbers. But that aside, they want to talk about macroeconomic issues. They also, of course, as you know, there is to make another analogy to the weather, a chilly relationship between the United States and China. The U.S. has tried to block China's imports of semiconductor inputs from the U.S. They've blocked a number of companies they feel are spying on American companies over that are Chinese listed companies on American exchanges. China has lodged their reports with the World Trade Organization. Actually, we'll be hopefully speaking with Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala about that, where they said that the United States is engaging in economic protectionism by not allowing them to get access to their chips. And they'll also be talking to them about COVID as well. While it is a good thing that, well, on one hand, it's a good thing that China is reopening its economy. It's one of the biggest consumers of energy, pushing up oil prices. Chinese tourists spent about $290-something billion around the world traveling. That's good on the one hand for markets. On the other hand, you've got rising COVID infections. We had to take a COVID test, myself and our superstar producer, Faith Orr, along with every other person that is attending Davos. We all had to take COVID tests because COVID is still very much a concern, because China reopening and reversing its stance on zero COVID has meant that infections have risen. So macroeconomic concerns, the relationship between U.S.-China, COVID, that's what Janet Yellen, Treasury Secretary of the United States, will be talking to China's Vice Premier Liu He. Either today or tomorrow.
So let's move on. What about Africa? What is the continent set to get from Davos? Because this Davos 2023, I don't know the number of African heads of state there. Nigeria's head of state, Nigeria's head of government, Muhammadu Buhari, is not there. So what are African leaders? What do we stand to gain as a continent?
Well, we hope to speak to the Minister of Finance of Nigeria, Zainab Ahmed, later today to talk to her about, Nigeria's, what Nigeria hopes to get out of this. Also, we hope to, fingers crossed, talk to South Africa's Minister of Finance, Mr. Godongwana, later on in the week. So he's here with the delegation. Nigeria's Minister of Finance is here. Look, the pervading narrative for Africa right now is investment, foreign direct investment, and also debt. We had, of course, our special, a week ago today, a special budget, the Arise TV and KPMG, where we went in depth on the 2023 budget. The deficit is really large. There's going to be a lot of borrowing for Nigeria. So Nigeria needs to raise revenues as much as possible. Nigeria needs foreign direct investment. So while that really is for more of the purview of the Minister of Trade and Investment for Nigeria, we'll be asking the Minister of Finance, Bemet, about that. South Africa, they need investment badly. In fact, Mr. Godongwana, the Minister of Finance for South Africa, made it clear that his delegation is here to look for investment. But who is going to invest in South Africa if you've got issues with ESCOM, which, by the way, just got a tariff increase where the average South African will be paying about 18% more for power when they're not even getting power, and there have been so many shutdowns and load shedding in South Africa. So Africa's main issue: get as much foreign direct investment, convince investors to return to Africa, also sort out a number of issues. We have a big election next year, so will anyone want to invest in Nigeria until before an election where we're going to be picking a new leader? They might want to wait a minute to see who is the new leader in Nigeria and what that means for Nigeria's economic policy. So for Africa, it's debt, and also getting foreign direct investments into our coffers.
No surprises there. Well, what else is on the agenda today for Davos 2023 broadly?
Yeah, there's a lot. Like I said, Liu He is going to be making an address, which is why Janet Yellen is coming to speak with him. Ursula von der Leyen, the European Commission President, she will be making an address as well. Klaus Schwab, Executive Director, founder of the World Economic Forum, him and Mr. Bernstein, the President of Switzerland, they will have a special address as well. The Prime Minister of Finland, the Prime Minister of Spain, I think Fareed Zakaria is hosting a chat with the Prime Minister of Finland. So there's a lot of addresses, and so we're going to be hearing from a lot of messages from heads of state about economic direction, how they feel about a possible global recession. About 450 sessions are taking place this week. So food security, income inequality, COVID, the economic backdrop, so much is going to be discussed as far as this particular day.
Well, thank you very much, Rotis. Rotis is reporting live from the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. We look forward to getting more updates from you as the forum event continues. For Global Business Update, Michael Wilson joins us now from Cape Town, South Africa. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning. Yes, so you've been hearing a little bit about China from Rotis. They've had some very mixed economic figures out, and that really, the market's fairly mixed in China as well. Growth of 3% now. Most of the world wouldn't complain about that, but that's the slowest in decades, although it's better than expected. 1.8% was expected. Now they've got 3%. Retail sales also quite good. Another thing which will be concerning the delegates at Davos will be China's population. The first figures out dropping for the first time in decades. In fact, dropping for the first time since the one child per family policy was imposed upon them in the early 1960s. The birth rate fell 70% in 2020, and I'm sure I don't need to tell you that what worries the authorities there, of course, is a much older population, thus not being supplied with a working age population to support them. And just a quickie, as far as the property market, the real estate sector in China is concerned, PwC has quit Evergrande. One of the reasons is that they've had a problem with the way that Evergrande wants to report its 2021 financial statements. To remind you that Evergrande owes $20 billion. The Bank of Japan, they are going to pull some outside sort of levers, which are very complicated with their monetary policy. But the feeling is that when the Bank of Japan is reported to make its decision tomorrow, interest rates will stay unchanged at 0.1%. Although with a bit of tweaking as far as the yield curve is concerned, again, it's terribly complicated. But the fact of the matter is that borrowing will be just slightly more expensive. As far as the United States is concerned, stock futures, now again, so it was the Martin Luther Day holiday yesterday, but Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley results are weighted very, very keenly indeed. We'll also get we'll also get more figures this evening. The point of this is that really there have been some benign, as far as inflation is concerned, indicators as far as the economy in the United States is running at the moment. And that should also help the delegates in Davos as well when they start talking about where they think the world economies are going. Again, you heard a little bit from Reuters about China. The Saudis are saying from that World Economic Forum conference in Davos that they could act as a bridge between the US and China. The Saudi finance minister has been saying that, the United States has got a relationship with Saudi which goes back to the 1930s, i.e. US buys their oil, US gives them the kind of security that they need, and there could be a further moves towards cooperation as far as geopolitical tensions are concerned between China and the United States. The IMF warning again that fragmentation, as they put it, in other words, countries not knowing where to go, wondering about the increase of cost of living, energy costs and so on, and the war in Ukraine. It could cost the global economy 7% of GDP. If you want to know what that is, again, it's a big figure. But it equates to the total GDP of Germany and Japan, the 7% loss. Which is being indicated by the IMF. And also countries in the developing world, which are heavily reliant on open trade, will probably suffer as well. Also from Davos, this is Oxfam reporting that the richest 1% got 2/3 of the new wealth created last year. That was a mere $42 trillion. And again, the disparity between the rich and the not so well off just continues. As far as Oxfam are concerned, what they're calling for is bigger taxes on the ultra rich. Western banks are still struggling to leave Russia. A number of them are actually stuck there. Only a handful have managed actually to leave Russia. For the majority, what they're trying to do is to exit, selling off their assets. But this is complicated by the fact that President Putin has just said that he will approve the disposal of assets and what he terms as unfriendly banks from unfriendly, as he terms it, countries will find it very, very difficult to leave. So in other words, what they'll have to do is take a massive haircut if they want to get out. A decision for them. Global air travel will get back to pre-pandemic figures, mainly because of the opening up of China by mid-2023. There's a company called Avalon, which is the second, sorry about that, that's one of the doors slamming in the wind. One of the largest jet lessors in the world, and they are they're predicting a 70% recovery. They're noticing of every 2 seats sold now in travel, one of those is from an Asian country. Bank of England and Andrew Bailey again talking to other bankers, not so much in Davos but in the UK, saying that there is still a hangover from that brief flirtation that the economy had with Truss and Kwarteng. It's only a few months ago, and still a lot of work to be done as far as the UK retaining and reactivating and re-establishing trust in the way the economies run. And finally, oil. I've got a range for you of Brent between 85 and 90 possibly, and WTI slightly lower than that, obviously 80 to 85, just because of improved optimism about the global economy. And most of that stemming because we assume that's what's happening in China is the end of the lockdown, and B, slightly more benign inflation figures from the United States. That's the global view this morning.
Well, thank you very much, Michael. Just to ask around China, interesting news around, I talked about that with regards to a population drop since, the first in decades, really. But also side by side that report yesterday talking about the revelations coming out with regards to the number of deaths, COVID deaths in China. I'd like you to just touch on that because, we talked about the fact that Chinese officials had released that only 37 people had died from COVID, but now they say it's in the 60,000s. And in terms of since the reopening of the economy. And so the impact of that. And then following that is Saudi Arabia's finance minister talking about coming in or wading in the tensions between China and the US. Bearing in mind that even with Russia and Ukraine, they've been able to mediate through facilitation of prisoner swaps between Kiev and Moscow. What are the chances like in terms of coming in as a mediator between the US and China?
You put your finger on quite an important issue, which is the reliability of figures coming out of China, which I have continually said I don't necessarily believe. It's so difficult to triangulate what's going on there. In other words, to pick a couple of actual fixed points and then work out which figures are correct and which aren't. The population drop is something which clearly worries the Chinese authorities, and for all kind of reasons. I mean, at what stage does an economy which is showing demographics of more and more people getting old not need to depend upon a younger generation to provide income and thus tax to keep those people living comfortably. Again, this is something which we assume to be correct, but as far as the COVID deaths are concerned, I have no more idea than you do, nor does anybody else really, about what the true figures are. I think what's happening is that, generally speaking, never mind the deaths, however tragic, and I'm sure they are, to the individual families concerned, the fact is that it does appear as though the markets are taking the view that China is reopening again. So I think that really is the big issue as far as China is concerned.
Okay, I was just still on the issue of China. The situation with COVID seems to be playing a major role in what is happening there. What's your thought? How long do you think this is going to play out in terms of how it impacts on their economy? Because it's a major one.
It is. It's a major worry. As I was saying, it's very difficult to get proper figures out of China as to how far they have actually reached. I mean, what clearly hasn't worked, and the authorities will not admit this, is that 100% lockdown policy has not worked. The only thing, as far as I can tell, and this is from health experts rather than economic experts that I speak to, and what they think has happened is that the population hasn't been given the chance to develop a kind of herd immunity to not so much to COVID, but the other kind of COVID-like problems that developed nations suffer from. I mean, these things are around all the time. They happen to have peaked in a COVID pandemic. That doesn't mean to say that the viruses have disappeared. I don't think they have. I think you have to be realistic about things and work out who is actually being affected by COVID and whether or not the figures are actually true or not. And one thing that I didn't answer, and I should have, forgive me, I was asked about the relationship between Saudi, China, and the United States. Not forgetting that Biden, of course, visited Saudi and asked them if they would kindly increase their production. They said no. I still think they're there. I think that what this is showing is a Saudi which is having to tread very delicately between two of what it would see as its major consumers. Not so much the United States, but certainly China. And I feel that any kind of way in which they can be seen to step onto the world stage and draw kind of cooperation between those two countries would do Saudi a lot of good in the global scheme of things.
Well, the Saudi one is a very interesting situation, especially considering the fact that they don't seem to have been a good ally to the United States in recent time. They've not been a good ally. But let's move on to the story that stands out for me, the Oxfam cry that a small percentage of the very rich, the super rich, are the ones that benefited the most from the COVID experience and the kind of money that was available. Do you think that the world leaders at Davos today will be listening and will do anything whatsoever in terms of creating a shift in movement of funds and finance that will help spread the money that is available, the wealth that is available around the world to people who have not made that much money from COVID?
Depends how much of a cynic you are. If you're like me, the answer to that question is no. Will they talk about it? Sure. Will a lot of wise heads bow in recognition of these rather startling facts that Oxfam have released? Yes, they will. Will they do anything about it? I suspect not. I mean, Oxfam are calling, as you would expect, for a special tax on the ultra-rich. That starts to get extremely complicated. What is ultra-rich? How much should that tax be? And who's to say the accountants who throng around these people will be saying, actually, do you know what? We'll shift that money to somewhere else. I mean, this is a big problem. However much we shake our heads and we say this is a great shame, the fact of the matter is it's really difficult to actually do anything about something like this. It's all right recognizing these kind of things, but for Davos to be able to say to the ultra rich who are thronging there, you should be paying higher taxes, they may well nod in agreement, but actually putting it into practice will be the devil's own job.
Well, coming in from Bank of England, Governor, just one final question before we let you go, Michael. With regards to international investors still not trusting to lend money to the UK government despite the cost of government, what would that be the way out for the UK, or what are they going to do in terms of shoring up that trust to attract investment?
I have to say I'm a little surprised by this story because I thought they already had. I mean, if you believe in the bond markets have now settled down. And that's really what was at the base of what was going on. Liz Truss was right. Obviously an economy needs to have growth. It's just that she was saying these things at the wrong time. And Andrew Bailey is very, very keen to say he's not criticising the Sunak administration for anything. He's just saying that, that the UK needs to establish a position of trust with overseas investors. Well, I think a child of 3 could have got to that sort of conclusion. And I think you and I would look at that and think, yeah, OK, fine. How are we going to do that? I think it's probably been done. I think what showed, as far as Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng were concerned, was what they weren't doing was bowing to, I suppose, what you might talk about the financial orthodoxy, which is to run scared of the bond markets and it's just to really watch out for them, and then when they settle, assume that they're doing their job properly. I don't see foreign investors actually, if they got any sense, looking at what's going on right now in the UK, i.e. a real tight straitjacket on spending, a tight straitjacket on public spending, increased taxes, and a defeat of inflation as far as possible. I mean, what's not to tick all the boxes about that?
Well, thank you very much, Michael Wilson, for giving us the Global Business Update. It's time for a short break now on the morning show. When we return, Aaron Akiri-Jola will be here with Global Sports Update. Stay with us.
As you adjust to the new realities for operating your business and engaging with your customers, let us help you transform your business into a digital powerhouse capable of adapting and taking advantage of today's opportunities. With our best-in-class array of digital solutions, you can conduct your business, receive payments from your customers, and perform transactions quickly, safely, and conveniently, because we've got you covered with the right people, technology, and service offerings. Contact us today and let us take your business to its zenith. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
I'm a to serve better breakfast.
If you're in Lagos, you need to see this.
I'm not just streaming content, I'm just escaping traffic.
Get more data to enjoy exclusive content. Dial *141# now.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
My brother, my sister, do you know that winning an election is not only about getting the majority vote? For that your candidate to be declared winner of the election, he or she must secure 25% of the vote in 2/3 of all states, plus the FCT to be president, and 25% of the vote in 2/3 of all local governments of a state to be governor. This is constitutional, and every presidential candidate has had to pass this threshold. Even governors have had to make this mark to get elected in their states. We live in one country with different languages, religions, and ethnic groups. This is why it is not enough to have only northern votes, or southern votes, or eastern votes, or western votes. The only way to get elected as president or governor is by gaining enough support across the country and states. Let us make sure that we know now so that we don't cause an issue tomorrow.
This message is brought to you by the Center for Democracy and Development, CDD, with support from the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, FCDO.
Welcome back to the morning show here on the Rise News. For updates on sports stories across the globe, Aaron Akirijola joins us now. Aaron, good morning.
Yes, a very good morning to you. And let me pick it up from the discussions both of you are having with both Michael Wilson and also Rotus. And let's go to Davos right now. And this time around, we are hearing that the Glazer family are actually in Davos. They've actually opened up a shop, and some are actually tagging them very desperate as they're seeking to probably propose and also put on the table Manchester United to the world billionaires. And maybe some, or maybe one of them will bite at the cherry. So let's see what happens. We know Manchester United is in the market, and the Glazer family have not hidden their intention that they want to sell Manchester United. They are publicly traded on the New York Stock Exchange, and they'll be hoping to see not worth of probably 5-6 billion pounds, depending on who is going to be buying. And at the moment, they've said the best place to do that is at the World Economic Forum. So before I get there,
but they're denying it though. They're saying that
they set up shop there. Literally, they did set up shop.
I mean,
there.
they did set up, but they're saying
the
that
pictures
it's
are
just
there. You cannot argue about that.
Yes, but they'd come out in a statement to say that, oh, that's not the reason why we're setting up shop.
We're
just there to.
Why is a football company setting up shop?
We're just
where
there to be
world
a part
leaders
of.
are gathered to talk about finance.
I mean,
to encourage them to be fans of the club and buy more of the jerseys. Yes,
time will tell.
Okay, away from that, quickly, massive scares and massive fears about the fitness of Novak Djokovic going into today's round of fixtures. Yesterday, he was seen heavily strapped, and as a matter of fact, he actually cancelled this session. And there are talks that he might withdraw from the Australian Open because he's not fully fit. Nadal has said this is Djokovic's tournament to lose. We know because of the whole controversy surrounding the COVID last year, he did not play, he did not participate, and he's back. He's looking like he is in form, but injuries might actually blight his opportunity to probably stretch or cover his lead or close his gap, the gap between himself and Rafa Nadal. But in the meantime, let's actually look at some of the fixtures from the Australian Open, because later on today he will be taking on the Spaniard, and he will be expecting to go out there to do so much. Roberto Cabelleros. Let's see how that one happens. A lot is expected from several of them, because the biggest match for today is seeing the man Novak Djokovic, who is seeded fourth in this particular tournament, go out there. On Africa's Ons Jabeur will also be in action today against Tamara Zindek. Of course, Caroline Garcia yesterday made light of Sebov 6-3, 6-love, and also Caroline Pliskova also going through Ji Wong 6-1, 6-3. Away from that, let's talk about Cristiano Ronaldo. On Thursday, he will be making his debut. And as expected, he will be captaining the Saudi Arabia All-Star team against Paris Saint-Germain's team, and Lionel Messi will be featuring in that particular team. So we'll be seeing Ronaldo versus Lionel Messi reprising the rivalry again. But this time around, Ronaldo will be captaining the team, debuting his football in the Gulf nation. So let's see what actually happens and if that would draw the kind of excitement that these gentlemen have drawn over the years. But let's turn our backs to what happened over the course of the weekend. The North London derby left a bitter taste in the mouth. Of course, Aaron Ramsey, who was a star and ensured that things didn't happen, got a poor treatment. As a matter of fact, one fan actually kicked at Aaron Ramsdale while he was there. You could see they just kicked at him, and the FA has been speaking against this. People have actually come out and said Richarlison shouldn't have been doing this, that literally he was harassing him, and he said that Aaron Ramsdale was disrespectful. That's why he went on to harass him. There's been a lot of back and forth about that particular North London derby. And also speaking about not the London derby, over the weekend we had the Manchester derby, and fans have actually gone on to say that they've actually edited Marcus Rashford out of this picture, and they've said that if Marcus Rashford wasn't there, certainly the goal would have even materialized. Talk more of even being scored by Bruno Fernandes. There, of course, the fallout is still on there. The fans are still raving. Quickly, the FA Cup later on today. Liverpool will be hoping to get back on track. They will be hoping to do so much against Wolves. Of course, this is a replay. The last time they played, it was 2-2. And they will be hoping this time at the Molineux, they will be able to raise their game. Over the weekend, they lost against Brighton, scandalously, 3-0. Who would have ever thought that Liverpool, high-flying Liverpool, will be reduced to a rubble? This is what is literally happening. And finally, the prestigious Sportsville Award, they've actually spoken about it, and this time around, the 2023 edition will be featuring 16 personalities. Corporates will be celebrated, and the sporting community here in Nigeria are gearing up for the 2023 Sportsville Award. Okay, over to you.
All right, so let's talk about the controversy surrounding the North London derby. I mean, both sides have come out to give an explanation as to their behavior. So I think it was Richarlison who said that he was furious because they shouldn't have been so, they shouldn't have celebrated and just made them...
But celebration and mocking.
It was mocking, that's the word. They were mocking them, and that wasn't good sportsmanship. Okay. And so that was why I was upset. I mean, I totally agree with you. You know, there's always been that conversation, Aaron, around the thin line between where's the thin line in celebration and it being overboard, where it now becomes almost like you're insulting or it is disrespectful to the other team. Doesn't excuse, of course, the fan from that. I hope that the fan will be fished out and be banned from games. I'm sure there'll be very stiff penalties. They don't joke with things like that. But just to explain, in terms of, and then you must understand that when it comes to a game like football, tensions are high.
Yes,
so people are both from the winning side and the opposing side. So any small thing, come to me, I'm like, that sort of thing. But no violence. So they must maintain sportsmanship despite. And then sometimes behaviors like this can mar a very good game, can mar a very good win. So, it's important for us to talk about that and just to mention that celebrate, but don't let your celebration be offensive to the other. And then also for the opposing team to also lose with dignity. Just accept it and, don't get too tense about
Losers will be sore. That is normal thing. And Tottenham was beaten clearly, without a shadow of doubt. And Arsenal is showing a pedigree completely different from what every Arsenal fan has been used to in the last 4 or 5 years, possibly even longer, from the tail end of Arsene Wenger's period. From that tail end, it's been really bad news for Arsenal fans.
Some will even say that it stretches as far as 2004. Although they've won FA Cups here and there, they've had patches of success.
Yes.
But the Arsenal of old that were a tour de force right now, they became weeping boys. They became a very sorrowful team.
Please forget you're emphasizing now. It's my turn to
So if they decide to celebrate,
don't let the Arsenal fan on Twitter come after you. They'll come after you. But let's look at Liverpool. The situation with Liverpool now, this FA Cup.
Yeah.
Where do you think they will be at the end of today's match? Would you predict that they're likely to win?
I strongly doubt it. Liverpool will need to have a game of games. The truth was this. I beg your pardon, refereeing and officiating robbed Wolverhampton Wanderers an opportunity to win this game in the first leg. And it's unfortunate that scandalous officiating ultimately played out, and they talked about the fact that a particular ITV cameraman was a little bit overzealous, so they couldn't get the camera angles right, and that was why the goal that should have been given was actually chalked off. So Liverpool, they know that they've been given another lifeline. And after that performance against Brighton, a lot of people will be expecting a performance from them and expecting a response.
You know, one funny thing is I was listening to a conversation on the London radio yesterday, and one of the fans was saying that maybe if this was Chelsea, referring to Liverpool, that if this was Chelsea, Jurgen Klopp will be far gone and the new manager will be in place. And somebody asked him that, would you want to be like Chelsea? He said, of course, Chelsea, every time they change manager, they win cups.
True.
But look at the situation with, do you think Jurgen Klopp's job is on the line at any point? I don't think
so. He's done too well to actually be put on the chopping block, understanding that Liverpool hadn't won the Premier League in over 30 years. And Jurgen Klopp was able to do that. They've won the UEFA Champions League. They are a staple in the Champions League. They've gotten to several finals. So you look at that and say that Jurgen Klopp has done well, but has he done as well as others within his circle? I would say no. Some would say yes, because he plays the Gegen-pressing kind of football. He plays the very offensive kind of football. He plays the football that people like. But the truth is this, right now, Liverpool are looking like they are walking on their last leg, literally walking on their last leg. It happened in Dortmund. He got fired. Some predicted that his aggressive style of play literally saps the energy from the players. The players that he has done so much with. They were on the cusp of actually doing the quadruple last season. Everyone said Liverpool were going to be immortalized as one of the greatest teams of all time. How that team has fallen from glory. And as one man would say, how are the mighty fallen? Tell it not to God. So Liverpool right now, they don't know what has hit them, and they are trying to find a way back. We are hoping that for their sakes, they can go out there and put in a performance today. But Wolves know that Liverpool are there for the taking. Wolves know that Liverpool right now are actually low on confidence. The first goal will determine how things play out. If Wolves get the first goal, I smell blood. I smell blood today.
Well, we'll be reviewing the match tomorrow when we see you. Thank you so much, Aaron Akirijola, and also probably reviewing the PSG and Al Nassr.
No, that's for Thursday.
That's for Thursday. Looking forward to that.
Yes, I am looking forward to that.
I think PSG
Ronaldo versus Lionel Messi again.
So it's not the teams versus. Thank you so much, Aaron.
Oh yes, so pleasure.
It's time now for a short break on the morning show. When we return, we'll have Arise News analyst Emmanuel Efeni join us to review top stories in today's newspapers. Stay with us.
Emergencies happen when you least expect them to. It gets worse when you are cash-strapped. No need to despair. First Advance has you covered. You can get that urgent cash right now on First Advance. With First Advance, salary earners can get up to 50% of their salary. No hassles. As long as you earn a monthly salary and your salary account has been active for at least 2 months. It doesn't matter if you run a salary account with First Bank or any other bank. Just dial *894*11# or simply dial *894# on your mobile phone. What's more, when you open a First Bank salary account, you can enjoy 0 charges and free debit card issuance. Download the First mobile app on Play Store or App Store today. Log in to experience First Bank digital banking. Select Loans, select First Advance, and follow the prompts to receive your loan. Don't let that urgent need get the best of you. Get First Advance now. It's as simple as dialing *894*11#. First Advance. Fast, convenient, secure. You first. First Bank.
Lagos has amassed more wealth than any other state in the country to be the most comfortable city to live in.
Now Lagos is earning 51 billion naira every month.
But even with all that money, this is the Lagos you have now. Bad roads filled with potholes, poor drainage system resulting in floods during rainy season, incessant traffic congestions, increased environmental pollution, poor healthcare system, large-scale child begging, poor security and increased crime rate, impunity of state government officials, lack of clean drinking water, poor transportation system. After years of empty promises, Lagos is now rated as the second worst city to live in the world. How long shall we continue like this? Lagos is not working. We want our Lagos back. Vote Dr. Abdulaziz Olajide Adediran Jandor as governor of Lagos State. Jafueko, fight for Lagos.
PDP, power to the people.
There are days when you think, oh more, I don't try. Order a Glovo. Days when plans run longer. What if we order a Glovo? Or days when you can't control everything. Oh yes, because on Glovo you can order anything you want. Glovo, you order, we deliver.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News analyst Emmanuel Efeni.
Good morning, Kayode. Good morning, Ese.
Good morning.
Ayo, Ese, Myro. Myro, Ese.
Myro, Ese.
Why am I confusing this?
Because you're drawn to the essay. Yeah. Because okay. It is your...
Yes, we'll start the review with this Nigeria's newspaper of record. The lead story, Emefiele resumed, says he remains committed to his oath of office, Buhari's policy direction. DSS denies arresting CBN governor. President intervenes, insists court order must be obeyed. Adegborowa, human rights group asks secret police to stop harassing Apex Bank's governor. Yes, Godwin Emefiele, the governor of the central bank, resumed. Recall, he went on vacation after his trip to the U.S. In the president's entourage. And ever since, there's been talk about his return. He's back, and he has resumed work at the central bank. The DSS, yes, the Department of State Services, yesterday denied the news making the rounds that the agency, the operative of the agency invaded the central bank's office and arrested Emefiele, describing it as fake news. So the DSS put in closure to that rumor, of course, that's what it was yesterday, about Emefiele being arrested. Now, other newspapers are also reporting this story. They have it as their lead. The Punch newspaper, Emefiele, DSS running battle paused. as CBN governor resumes. Confusion as Secret Service debunks claims of arrest. Governor vows to work under president's direction. Emefiele will chair next MPC meeting. Spokesperson, of course, that meeting comes up on Monday the 23rd and Tuesday the 24th of January. That's next week. Now, the Daily Trust also has that story. Emefiele resumes amid fear of arrest. DSS denies invading CBN. Tension over arrest unhealthy for economy. Experts are warning. Inflation drops to 21.34%. MPC meets next week. Now, the Business Day newspaper also weighing in on the story in their lead. CBN, DSS to quiz bank CEOs over FX allocation. Emefiele resumes office ahead of MPC meeting. Says Apex Bank. Yes. So, for now, we expect that the Department of State Services will just comply with court order because we recall the effort the DSS made to get the court to okay the arrest of CBN, of course, the CBN governor. Of course, the court ruled that you don't have enough evidence to back up your claim. The allegation which the DSS took to court was that Emefiele, the central bank governor, was funding terrorism. But we know that the government, the federal government, was given a list of those funding terrorism by the government of UAE. We are still waiting for the government to unfold that list and take those persons to court. But what we see now is different. But we're still waiting for that list because that list was handed over to the federal government some time ago. Nobody unveiled as sponsors of terrorism, nobody taken to court. Now, the Vanguard newspaper, alleged graft, treason, Tinubu, Atiku seek each other's arrest, disqualification, APC presidential candidates camp fires first salvo, recalls ex-VP's quarrel with Obasanjo over SPV accounts. Atiku retorts, cites for Fisher in US case over narcotics. Yes, recall that yesterday, Festus Keyamo, spokesperson of the APC Presidential Campaign Council, attempted to use his platform to make his allegations, asking the press, why are you not carrying the story? Why are you not covering it like you did that of our principal? Of course, he's not the one to tell the media when to do their work. Keyamo should know that. Yesterday, they summoned the courage to address a press conference, and today, the media has covered it extensively. I don't even want to ask him. You have media under your control. Why did they not use it as their lead? Why did your own stations not use it as their main story? You are asking others, something they just picked up from the internet. Now you have come out to put a face to that, and you see it is being covered by the media. So those professionals, journalists who are working with Keyamo should advise him. I don't want to believe that they have surrendered their profession to Festus Keyamo to run roughshod just across the media. Now, the issues involved, they have raised. Keyamo said he's going to court, accusing Atiku Abubakar, while he was vice president, of setting up special purpose vehicle, which they allegedly used to siphon government funds. I hope they'll follow that through. But calling for the disqualification of Atiku Abubakar, just as the PDP campaign council members are also calling for the disqualification of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Nigerians want to hear about what they will do, how they will do it when we have an economy that is almost on its knees, a country that is not working. We're spending trillions to subsidized fuel, the situation of power right now, not one to write home about. But the candidates and their campaign councils have decided to tear each other down. Nigerians are watching. Of course, the New Telegraph also carrying that story. Atiku Tinubu clash over corruption allegations, political thuggery. Launch of Jagaban army treasonable plan to disrupt elections, PDP alleging. Atiku should be arrested, prosecuted for abuse of office, APC. I'll work with private sector to solve Nigeria's economic challenges. Atiku says it's risky to hand over Nigeria's future to Tinubu Obi. Tinubu meets with APC planning monitoring team, charges them to protect party votes. Now, the Nation newspaper, of course, has the story. APC PCC 6, Atiku probe for fraud within 72 hours. Petitions EFCC, ICPC, CDB, ex-VP unfit to contest, PDP fires back. Now, the Nigerian Tribune newspaper, at Chatham House, Obi vows to tackle oil theft. Debt servicing, unemployment. Of course, Peter Obi was at Chatham House yesterday, made his speech, and took questions. Well, he did not rely on teamship, he did it himself. And he was spot on, taking most of the questions. And all day I've been listening to radio all morning and people commenting on various aspects of his answers. Of course, he talked about IPOB. He was asked, why have you not condemned IPOB? He said, I will reach out to all aggrieved groups, whether IPOB, Yoruba, nation agitators, and I will talk to them because even in my family, people are agitating and I talk to them. Peter will be for you there. Well, I'm sure Nigerians are listening to the various candidates and their pitch for the top job and the land. Now, the Guardian newspaper, subsidy, stop 100% fuel importation, labor charges government. Local refining is way out, says Pengerson. Government using subsidy to blindfold masses, says Okon. Declare state of emergency. Probe on subsidy, says Omoyade. Labor to resist presidential candidates calling for removal, says NLC. Now, the fuel situation still very bad. Still very bad. Spending billions, trillions to subsidize fuel. NMPC telling us we have enough fuel. Yet we are not seeing, we have queues all over the place, not able to distribute this petrol even until we can remove the subsidy. Perhaps somebody should just do the needful. Remove the subsidy. And there'll be fuel everywhere. You buy if you can. If you cannot buy, you park your car and use public transportation. Now, the foreign newspapers quickly. The Times of London. Mass walkout by teachers will hit millions of pupils. Wave of strikes to start next month. Union accused of turning back on children. Yes, Gillian Keegan, the education secretary, telling teachers, you are turning back on the children when you're supposed to be opening the doors. But the government of UK is more concerned. They are concerned not just with the children who will be missing class, but what the impact on the economy, because parents will be forced to stay at home to take care of their kids, since they will not be going to school for about 4 days. But what is striking Kayode and Ayo? They strike for 4 days, they go back to work. But here, university lecturers who should know better, they will cripple the system for months and they lose academic session. And they tell you they want to save the system. And I've always said they are doing more harm even than the government to the public university system in Nigeria. But in the UK, teachers are going on strike for 4 days. And they're asking for pay rise. 8.9% proposed by the government. But the government is saying that increase will come from the budget of the schools. But they are saying the full weight of the increase should come from the government because they don't even have enough to take care of the schools right now. Kayode and Ayo, over to you.
I heard what you said, and we know that that is a climb, or to use another word, that's a country where things work and things work properly, where you know that remunerations are paid as and when due, when things get to be done the way it should be done. In the case of Nigeria, it's so different from what you see in the United Kingdom, to the point where it's now even difficult to take a position on whether to support the unions or to support the government. Because the whole thing has been muddied up to the point where you look at the agreement of the union with the government, and it just does not make sense to have an agreement signed, sealed, delivered, and not followed. And at the same time, you know the children are suffering, they're struggling, and the people who should be most concerned, professors, doctors, PhD holders, lecturers, teachers, who should be concerned about the future of those people who are children put in their care, they say we're not concerned. The government should be the one. So it's just so muddied up that it's difficult to say I'm on the side of the trade unions or I'm on the side of the government.
Yeah, government must keep to its promise.
Yeah. Yes.
Promises are not meant to be broken.
Yes.
They're not.
Yes, but we must also care for the system
Absolutely.
you are fighting for, not just go
abandoned
to
work
hell.
for months.
No.
For months.
No.
Well, nurses are to go on strike in a few days. Rail workers are said, we just talked about them reaching some sort of agreement with the government. And then obviously emergency workers, it was the winter of discontent in the UK last year, and then it doesn't seem to continue. So it looks like a long-drawn winter.
Of course, because of the inflation.
Yes.
Every group wants a pay rise to keep up with the pace of inflation. Otherwise.
And it doesn't help with the reports that the large number of rich wealth is in the hands of a few. So when you hear reports like that and they're telling you there's no money to pay, it's difficult for people to see equity and justice in that. But thank you so much, Mr. Emmanuel Feni. We're done with the news review today. We'll see you again tomorrow morning. And just on the labor, we're going to be having that conversation in detail to discuss Mr. Peter Obi's outing at Chatham House very shortly. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we shall be talking to Kenneth Okonkwo, spokesperson for the Obi Dati Presidential Campaign Council. Stay with us.
Reflection of the Nigerian never say die spirit. They never stay down. You're always thinking of how to improve. You're always thinking of how to move forward. My name is Emmanuel Ahimieho. I've been a civil engineer for 18 years. I'm the project manager of Obajana Kaba Road. The Obajana Kaba Road is 43 kilometers built completely of concrete pavement. We started work on December 2016. I remember when we came here, it was virtually lifeless. We're building a road that we know will need very minimal maintenance. It's a road that we don't need to rush back to in 5 years, trying to carry out major maintenance work. We don't need to import anything that we need on the road. They are all locally available materials. All the cement we use on this road is from Dangote Cement Factory, which is the largest cement factory in Africa. The sand is from the communities, so people from the community, they end up becoming suppliers. Imagine supplying sand for a 43-kilometer road. It's a lot of money. There are things I've learned from building this concrete road that I never knew 10 years ago. And to be able to lead those people to achieve something worthwhile, something that is of value to them, to the community, to people who have never met us. And I am positive that the road will outlast most of the people who are building the road. Along this route, you have up to 12 communities. People have the confidence to open shops. Why? Because, you know, someone is going through the road, they sell their things, they sell their goods. That is more money for them. We have a number of eateries now, and you want to buy food along the road, you get fresh food, not food that are preserved. No, you get fresh food. So it is good for us, and it's good for the community too. The road is a lot more safer now for everybody, including Halima, including other travelers. So they have better road, lesser crime, shorter journey times. So a lot of advantages. I've had people who go through the roads and they stop to just say, well done. We are proud of what is happening here. We're happy that this is going on in Nigeria in our time. We can see it. They are proud of it. I think it has brought life back to the communities. I feel very proud, extremely proud being a part of this project.
This na Emeka. He like to dey keep money for her. As CBN deadline don dey near so. This one na wise Emeka. As he don hear say deadline dey near, he wan carry money go deposit for the right place with Access Bank.
It's time to spread your wings and fly. Reach for the sky.
Even if the bank too far, na to go to the nearest Access Closer agent. No carry last with your money o.
Get up right now, right now.
Money wey you deposit for Access Bank, na money wey go make your mind rest well well. Don't let the money spoil for your hand o. 10 million naira today, fit be 0 naira tomorrow. Oya o, Musa, Shade, Onyinye, carry your money go Access Bank or Access Closer agent wey near you. Access, more than banking.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. The presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, is one candidate that has been very busy this campaign season. Obi, just like his fellow counterparts in the People's Democratic Party and the APC, All Progressives Congress, has not limited his campaign to Nigeria. The former governor of Anambra State on Monday, while speaking at the Chatham House in the United Kingdom, said his administration will fight the structure and big boys who prevent the power sector from functioning properly. Obi promised to declare war on power and also said if elected, his administration would create a suitable platform to attract foreign investors into the country. The Labour Party candidate also vowed to tackle Nigeria's multifarious challenges, including oil theft, debt servicing, secessionist agitation, youth unemployment, electricity problem, insecurity, amongst others. Joining us on the show this morning to discuss Peter Obi's address at the Chatham House in London is Kenneth Okonkwo, spokesperson for the Obi Dati Presidential Campaign Council. Welcome to the morning show. Good morning and good to see you.
Good morning, and thank you for inviting me, and good morning, viewers at home, for joining us.
Okay.
It's a privilege, actually, an honor to be here with you on the morning show.
Always a joy to see you on Arise News. So let's start by hearing what's your verdict on how your candidate has performed at this particular event, which it seems like every Nigerian aspiring leader has gone or will be going eventually.
Well, let me first of all admit that when I started working as a spokesperson for this great Nigerian, I was affected with his affection. But today, as the days go by, I am now infected with his personality. This man has just dazzled the world with his brilliance and convince the world with his clarity. I have not seen a man who has started rewriting the history of Nigeria, beautifying Nigeria, even before he's sworn in as the next president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as I know he will by May 29. Look at, I am proud of a principal who became so stingy that he could not even share his questions to other people. He answered all of them. We have witnessed in Nigeria where some candidates went on international molestation of our common psyche and went there and in their generosity shared all the questions and answered none. Have you not seen the difference between a man who is responsible and responsive as a leader, who is going to bring transformative and purposeful leadership in Nigeria, with a man who shifts all the responsibilities for others? Because, of course, like I said in Arise Television, Tinubu is incapable of granting any interview. He's incapable of national debate. He's incapable of being the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So I have a principal who has summarized in Chatham House in a sentence what he wants to do for Nigeria: secured, united, and productive Nigeria. That is just the summary of what he has told the world.
Okay.
He will provide security, he will unify Nigeria, and he is going to shift emphasis from consumption to production through and running, and by running, a production-centered economy driven by agrarian revolution.
All right.
And export-oriented industrialization. So he went to Chatham House to elucidate his 7-point agenda, putting flesh and describing how he's going to achieve each and every one of them.
Well, let's talk about that now.
That actually, good.
Yes, let's talk about how he's going to achieve this. I mean, you've given a broad overview of his performance at Chatham House. And so we would like to dissect some of the things that he said and what he had said he was going to do for the Nigerian people, responding to questions. The first thing I'd like you to speak on, which has come up a number of times, almost at the risk of sounding like a broken record, but still very important to address, is this conversation around structure. Yesterday we had one of the PDP chieftains and a former Senate president of Nigeria, Dr. Bukola Saraki, speak to us, and he brought up this issue around structure of the Labour Party. This time he was speaking to the fact that Mr. Peter Obi, yes, has gathered steam and a number of people in the last few months. However, if he is indeed elected as president come February 25 and sworn in May of 29th of May 2023, then he doesn't have the numbers in the National Assembly to push some of these promises that he's making to Nigeria, which can only be effected by legislature. How would you respond to this? And the fact that he said, it's just a few months campaign, Labour Party doesn't have structure, just one person who is driving the entire party and campaign, it's not going to work. What's your statement? How would you respond to that?
Well, first of all, as you can see, the structures that PDP and APC have is the structure of criminality, structure of corruption, structure of fuel scarcity, structure of poverty, structure of insecurity, structure of bad leadership. I could go on and on. So if Obi is part of that structure, you wouldn't see me being a spokesman to him. And that is why he is coming in to destroy such structures. Let me tell you, Obi is a man that is already used to providing democratically engineered disruptive change. When he was the governor of Anambra State, he had no member of the House of Assembly, none. But he was able to get everything he wanted approved by the House of Assembly. He was able to get everything he wanted in Anambra State, and within 4 years, he became the #1 in the whole Nigeria in all indices of measurement. In MDG goals, he was scored number 1 by UNDP. In the poverty rate, he was scored number 1 by the DG of NAPEP, the Poverty Alleviation Program, by PDP. In the network of roads, he was scored number 1. He built 800 kilometers of roads. In the debt management strategy, he was scored number 1 by DMO. And in every other indices, yet he did not have one member of the House of Assembly when he came in as governor. This is what Obasanjo would describe as track record of ability and performance. What you need to be in control is not having members in the National Assembly, as pleasant and as important as it may be. What you need is political will. What you need is strong institutions. In America, independent candidates had become president in America, but they went in and delivered on the job. Obi is going to provide leadership. He is offering a new brand of leadership that is less transactional, that is efficient and effective, that is responsive and responsible. Do you know he was impeached by the House of Assembly, wielding their tyranny of majority? What happened? He went to court, and the court said, no, you cannot vilify a politician because you have majority in the House. There must be a proof of misconduct. And since there is no misconduct by this great politician, you must let him be. And he went back to his state. Obi has committed himself that he will never be corrupt. Indeed, he is incorruptible. So no National Assembly, even if he does not have one person, can move against him because he has to misconduct himself first. If he has not misconducted himself in Anambra State for 8 years, not even taking the land that he is entitled to or pension that he is entitled to, how can he misconduct himself when he becomes the president? There is a proverb in my place: you don't learn to be left-handed in your old age. Obi is coming. He is going to have members in the National Assembly, but what we are interested in is a new Nigeria.
All right.
And by the executive power, political will, institutional strength, which he's going to engender, he's going to provide the leadership and the standard, which Obasanjo said that we have not experienced something like that, and it will not be deleted from Nigerians' history. The kind of standard he's going to implement in Nigeria.
Okay.
So the issue of, I'm sorry, with profound respect to Bukola Saraki, he has made no point on that issue.
Well, that's your perspective. But I like the fact that you practically wax lyrical about your candidates. You can even create a song, and I guess your friend and brother, Peter and Paul Okoye, they will probably help you put the music on and we will all enjoy it. But let's look at the facts as they stand.
Yes,
as of today,
I'll dance it too. I'll make it danceable.
Okay. As of today, one of the things that's being said is you don't have candidates in most of the political offices that are open for election. Why is there that situation? Why is there that gap? Is it that you can't find the right candidates to aspire for those offices, or you don't have enough members that will sit for those offices? What exactly is the issue? Let's address that and forget about whether you even win at all or not. Why don't you have the quality candidates?
Well, because I have committed myself to honesty. Indeed, I do not even know how to lie. Recall that P2B entered Labour Party almost about 2 weeks or 3 weeks to the end of the nomination time, by which time the party has not become as monstrously popular as it has become now. So the entrance of P2B made it very attractive to Nigerians who are looking for an escape route out of these structures of criminality. So when he entered there, you discover that there were some offices that were not filled. And P2B is not the man who in emergency yields to pressure. He will still be committed to the capacity, the competence, and the character of each and every person. And he would prefer that a seat is vacant rather than fielding an incompetent or people who are not of character. So in those areas where you're not seeing candidates, it's not because we couldn't have drafted in anybody, but by the time, the shortness of time, we were not able to certify that we can comfortably vouch for all the candidates that we are putting in there. Because when you want to bring a new thing, you must not succumb to the blackmail of the opposition to, in your haste, begin to come against the particular thing you want to preach against. So we are prepared to do the right thing at all times. Okay. So whoever was qualified was allowed to get in within the short time that we had. Recall that we even had to go the way of placeholders. Yes, in order to have our time to even get the particular candidate we want at the national level to even be a vice president. And thank God we did. We got a cerebral dirty who would not even agree to buy the property that was corruptly given to his fellow members when he was a member of the National Assembly. He refused. Because he said it is public property and he will not use the advantage of being a member of the National Assembly to acquire it. That he was the person in the National Assembly who made the issue of the procurement to be sanitized in Nigeria. That he has 2 universities coming from a section where going to school is even difficult. We had to settle down to make a choice of him to make sure that we are in a new Nigeria we can be proud of.
Thank you, Mr.
So that
Okonkwo.
is exactly what happened. Right. And the mere fact, thank you.
All right, so Mr. Okonkwo, let's talk about corruption, since we're on that subject. Yesterday at Chatham House, Mr. Peter Obi, your presidential candidate, had said that one of the reasons when they talked about shoring up revenue and attracting foreign investment, and his response to this was that it's like honey and bees. Bees are naturally gravitate to where there's honey. So in essence, making the economy or driving policies that make it attractive to investors to come in to the nation. And one of the ways in which he said he was going to do this was by fighting corruption. He's spoken about, his kick against corruption, how the stance against corruption. How is he going to do this in the very complicated system here in Nigeria? And beyond that, talking about corruption, he also said he was going to eliminate fuel subsidy. I would like to find out from you how soon, if he does become president on the 29th, or when he's sworn in on the 29th of May, how soon is he going to do away with fuel subsidy, bearing in mind that the current provision for it ends at the end of June? Would he be willing to, do away with fuel subsidy 1 month after he's sworn in?
Well, I would surprise you by saying the issue of tackling corruption is the easiest thing to be done in Nigeria. And the reason is simple. Like my principal said, it's the state officials that are stealing oil. So when you get into office and you employ people who are not corrupt like yourself, you have ended completely oil theft. Oil theft is not something you pilfer. It's not a liquid you can put in your pocket. A ship cannot be hidden before a ship moves into our territorial waters. And I'm telling you, as a lawyer to some oil magnates, before a ship enters our territorial water, if you know what it takes a ship, you will know that security agencies, government officials must be complicit before a ship can enter our territorial water. Do you know, shamefully, for any barrel of oil that Nigeria sells, 51 barrels are stolen and sold illegally. How do I know that? 51 pipes were illegally projected into the major pipe that carries the legal oil for us to export. And each one takes as much oil as the major pipe. And this has been existing for 9 years, telling you that corruption has become systemic. It was only when my principal voiced out that it is the state officials that are stealing oil, that's when they started making the discovery. The discovery has been there, but the lack of political will, and because the state officials are the thieves here, it is impossible to fight. So the first strategy that my principal is going to adopt is that he himself is not going to be corrupt. And if he is not corrupt, who is he that is working for him that will be corrupt.
Well,
I'll tell you what happened.
Well, Mr. Okonkwo, let me just butt in here. Let me just butt in here. Let me just butt in here for a second.
If you would allow me.
No, because
so
it's
that
in
your
line.
headbutt will not give me some
No, it's
injuries.
in line with what you're saying. Because of you're talking about when one person says he's not corrupt.
Proceed.
The current President Buhari, has said in a recent when he went on the campaign trail in Yobe State that he does not have a house to his name in the United Kingdom. You can search him. He is not corrupt. However, this hasn't stopped, people around him. We had the AGF. We've had a number of high-profile corrupt cases under this administration. So that's not convincing enough. If one person, in this case, the president says, well, I'm not corrupt, it's no longer strong enough for Nigerians to say that doesn't mean your government is going to be corrupt. So how would he ensure?
Thank you very much for bringing... Good. Thank you very much for bringing up that issue. Because you have reminded me the reason why I followed President Buhari. Because in all honesty, when he tells you he does not have a house anywhere, he's being sincere about it. I can tell you, the closest I reached to President Buhari, I can tell you that there has not been any proof to any personal corruption to his name. No doubt about that. But that's talking about character. And that is why we are saying the 3 C's are the irreducible minimum for the next president. Because character is not enough. You must have capacity, you must have competence. President Buhari is lacking in capacity. Maybe because of his age, I don't know. Because a man who has sat in a hospital for 8 months outside Nigeria, when he's the president, certainly will lose track of certain events. Maybe his competence may be questionable. As you know, his certificate is still being doubted, whether he did his primary school or secondary school. So we need these 3 C's. And my principal has them in excess. When you talk about competence, hey, he was educated in University of Nigeria. He was educated in London School of Economics. He was educated in Oxford University. He was educated in Kellogg Graduate University. He was educated in Columbia University. He was educated in Massachusetts, Boston, Harvard University. All the best universities in the world. That is capacity. When he climbs the staircase, he jumps it, telling you his feet as fiddle. Not just that he's going to be a leader. He's going to supervise the people that are working under him. That is why it is dangerous to elect a president who cannot even come for a national debate because he's impaired in his reasoning and he has lost his memory, his abilities, his experiences. He has lost all of them. And I'm talking specifically about Bola Tinubu, who is suffering from dementia and amnesia. It's dangerous to bring such a person on the position of leadership. And I am talking about Atiku Abubakar, who is now an octogenarian, who cannot climb staircase. And you can see the best they are already doing. And that is why we are saying that P2B is the only option, not just an alternative option. When you talk about corruption, I've talked about the capacity, the competence, and then the character. P2B, I can tell you one thing. One of his aides met me when they were talking about corruption. He said, I am the one who took the parcel of land to His Excellency P2B. I, personally. And I was shocked when he replied. And he said it was not to corrupt him. It was his entitlement. Just like in Abuja, everybody is entitled to a plot of land. As a governor, he's entitled pension, plot of land. But he rejected all of them in order to prove to the world that he came to serve, not for what he will receive, but what he will give. So he's going to tackle corruption. Why? He's going to reduce cost of governance. He's going to ensure the entrenchment of rule of law. He's going to establish an honest and efficient civil service. He is going to live by example. So the structure of corruption, what did you hear about Obasanjo when he talked about Atiku? He said this is a man that has propensity to corruption, tendency to disloyalty. He's a man that is unable to say and stick to the truth at all times. He's a man that has poor judgment, a man that lacks transparency, a man who believes in marabout, a man who
Mr. Okonkwo,
believes in money. to pay his way out in all the things he's doing. He has readiness to compromise morality, integrity, propriety, truth, national interest for self and selfish interest. Corruption personified. He has corrupted the older generation. He advised Obasanjo against open corruption, but encouraged
Kenneth, let's ask the question so that we can move very quickly.
He has infected the next generation with special purpose vehicle of corruption.
Okay, thank you very much. Very quickly, before I ask you the question I was going to ask, I want to believe that...
it's like you guys
don't
are
worry.
giving me a lot of headbutts.
No headbutts at all. No headbutts at all. It's very simple. One of the things we try to do is to make sure that the conversation here is fact-based and that there is nothing you say that cannot be verified. You did mention that Atiku cannot climb stairs. Do you want to take that back, knowing that you've seen the man climb stairs several times, and say that was a slip of tongue?
Oh.
You know that he has climbed stairs before.
I've also seen Tinubu climb stairs.
So
and
you cannot say...
imagine the climbing of the stairs.
So are you saying that you know...
I'm not talking about being lifted like forklift. I'm saying let him come and jump the staircase like my principal. I'm not talking about being able to lift your leg.
Okay,
no,
then telling me...
fitness.
Okay,
I'm talking about the ability to do pam, 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 pam. Let him come and do it.
All right. Okay. The fact is he can climb stairs. But don't let us dwell on that. Don't let us dwell on that. The fact is the man can climb stairs.
I'm talking about pa. Climbing,
all right.
pa.
Very quickly then, because we have very little time, so that we don't dwell too much on this. Very quickly, in terms of the state of Nigerian economy, the level of debt that Nigeria is trying to service is so much that it can be described as unprecedented level of debt that Nigeria is owing. Your principal, Peter Obi, how do you think he's going to maneuver and walk through that process where we can say we have money to run the services and to develop the economy of Nigeria in a situation where we're owing so much and servicing debts has taken over a very high percentage of how we use our revenue? Where's the money going to come from?
First of all, let me admit that we do not have any effective government in place. Because this government is going to leave for the next government 77 trillion naira in debt. So it's a terrible situation. But there is a good news. When Obi became the governor of Anambra State, he inherited debts from his predecessors. Gigantuan. But you know what Atiku said about Obi? When they were telling him about death, he said, thank goodness Obi is with me and he's good in managing debts. Is there in his Twitter handle. So the issue here is that we have a man who is prudent, who has been prudent and who will be prudent. So Obi inherited debts in Anambra State, but left them with 75 billion naira and left them with $150 million. Not owing any contractor, not owing any, no pensioner was owed, nobody was owed. Go and verify. So what does it take? Nigeria has money, we have materials, we have men. What is lacking is the ability to combine, to utilize and allocate our resources in the right way through planning, organizing, directing, and controlling so that our national objectives will be achieved. This is what is lacking. Obi is going to cut our debt in 50% immediately he comes in. Why? Like I said, cost of governance. You can see how much people are budgeting for feeding alone. You can see how much they are budgeting for healthcare in Nigeria. You can see how much they are budgeting for education. Right. None is seen. Okay. Why? The contracts are inflated by more than 50%. So when he comes in and there is no inflation of contract, you saw that one of the reasons why he was impeached was that what was to cost 400 and something million in Anambra to build, he built it at 120 something million.
Okay, Mr. Okonkwo.
And that was one of the reasons he was impeached.
Mr. Okonkwo, we need to go.
Look at how much he has saved.
Yes.
So by the time he removes corruption from the system, he would have gained 50% of the revenue he needs.
All right.
Now,
Mr.
by the
Okonkwo,
time
we
he
need
removes
to
oil
wrap up.
thieves-
We need to wrap up, but just very quickly,
wrap
one
up?
statement.
I thought we're just starting.
No, we're done. One statement, and it's important to just mention that your principal did say that debt wasn't the problem. It was what the debt was going to be used for. As in other crimes, he cited the UK, he cited and some other nations like that, and the United States of America, that we use our debts to service consumption, whereas he would use it for infrastructural development. Just to mention that in terms of inheriting or not inheriting debt. But finally, I'll just very quickly in a statement.
You're very correct.
Yes, in
And
a statement.
the reason
Just the assessment of INEC's readiness to, for the elections come February and March, because there are allegations around one party skewing or vote buying and the likes, and unfairness in terms of picking up PVCs. Has your party experienced this? And in one statement, very briefly, please, I'd like you to respond to that.
Let me make it clear that I am disappointed with INEC, because people have personally reached out to me to say that some INEC officials collect 2,000 naira from them, 5,000 naira from them before issuing the PVC. Then some INEC officials close their offices before the closing time just to frustrate some people. And in Lagos State, it is already there. If your name is an Okoro or an Uju, they will skip your name and call other names. It's there in the open. So INEC should please be very careful about 2023 election. It's an election like no other. PVCs must be given to everybody and on time. They should come out on time, and they should close even later than their time, not before, because of the exigency of the time.
Okay.
INEC has not convinced me that some moles are not working in their midst.
Thank you
very much.
very
They must make sure
much.
that they should be up and doing.
Thank you.
The security agencies must provide the needed security for this election.
Very
Look,
good. Okay,
our
but on
opportunity
that note,
to peacefully change our government
Kenneth,
is closing up gradually. So we must be very careful in 2023.
Thank you very much.
A lot of people are dissatisfied with this system.
Thank you
and
very
it is
much.
only open, clean, and transparent election that can assuage the feelings of everybody.
All right. Thank you
INEC
very much.
must rise up to the occasion.
That's
Security
fine.
agencies must rise up to the occasion.
Yes.
The Chief of Defense Staff, you have known, has publicly
Everybody's
confessed
got to
that they
rise
are
up
under
to the
pressure
occasion. Yes.
by some quarters.
Yes.
So we must be very, very careful.
We have to run now. We really have to run.
So INEC has
Kenneth
not impressed
Okonkwo,
me, but I'm believing they should be
spokesperson for the Obidati presidential campaign. Thank you very much for your contribution. We'll have to take a short break now, and when we return, we shall be talking to Professor Usman Yusuf, former Executive Secretary of NHIS.
New Naira notes? Don't panic. Here's what you need to know. Ensure to make deposits of all old banknotes before January 31, 2023. To make the process seamless for you, all Fidelity Bank branches will be open till 6 p.m. on weekdays and 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturdays to allow for cash deposits only. Also, please note that bank charges on all cash deposits have been suspended by the CBN. However, charges shall still be applied on cash withdrawals. The new banknotes can be accessed at any Fidelity Bank branch nationwide from December 15, 2022. Old banknotes will remain in circulation till January 31, 2023, when they will cease to be legal tender, as directed by the CBN. For more inquiries, follow us on our social media channels or email us at true.serve@fidelitybank.ng. You can also call 0700 3035 489 or reach us on WhatsApp on 090 3000 5252. Thank you for banking with us.
We are Fidelity. We keep our word.
Introducing an all-time mega offer. Get over 50% discount in the Airtel Home Broadband mega offer. Buy a router for just 10,000 naira and get up to 240 gigabyte or a MiFi for 5,000 naira and get up to 125 gigabyte bonus data. More data, more you. Reliable home broadband buy.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Getting together for the first time in years was a little bit awkward. Grandpa still tried to entertain us. Mom was always stealing the spotlight from the kids. It wasn't until Grandma cracked a joke
That's my favorite prayer.
that we got back into our groove. In this festive, DSTV is making family time even better with an upgrade.
Stay connected to DSTV and we'll upgrade you to the next package for free.
Papa, mama, brother, sister, this Lagos must work for all of us. Everybody da fun Eko.
Oh yes, Lagos people, papa, mama, sister, brother, auntie, plus including uncle them. Better don't land for Lagos State gidigba. Money wey be for Lagos State, then go use them for Lagos State. Wella, no more baba sope. Then no go chop Lagos State money. Nobody go pocket Lagos State. Then go take and build Lagos State, build road, build hospital, build houses, and now only one man fit do this job. His name na Abdulaziz Olajide Adediran Jandor. He can't carry one ogbonge person as a deputy governor. Her name na Funke Akindele Jennifer. My people, what do we dey wait for? Make we vote for light, vote for change. No be the kind change where they vote before. This one na the original change. How Amumu don do? Pay they pay.
Everybody da fun Eko.
Yesterday I got a call from Glow. I won a 3-bedroom bungalow.
Yes, guys! Guess what? I won a car. I won a generator by participating in the Festival of Joy promo by Glow.
Hey, Glow don't do this one for me. Glow to make it set to me with sewing machine.
I won generator. This year I won for
It's a celebration like no other with prizes like no other. 20 new houses to be won. 24 brand new cars. 200 sewing machines. 100 generators. 1,000 rechargeable fans. Glow Festival of Joy promo. Dial *611# now.
As you adjust to the new realities for operating your business and engaging with your customers, let us help you transform your business into a digital powerhouse capable of adapting and taking advantage of today's opportunities. With our best-in-class array of digital solutions, you can conduct your business, receive payments from your customers, and perform transactions quickly, safely, and conveniently, because we've got you covered with the right people, technology, and service offerings. Contact us today and let us take your business to its zenith. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
As a player, there's nothing better than the roar of your crowd. But in Nigeria, there's a roar that may not be heard again. With fewer than 50 lions left, they could be extinct in the next few years, from loss of habitat and prey, and snares set for illegal bushmeat. So please, say no to illegal bushmeat. Let's keep the roar alive for Nigeria, because poaching steals from us all.
Imagine your wallet can be everything.
Well, almost everything your bank is to you. That's exactly what First Money Wallet is. First Money Wallet from First Bank is another swift and seamless way to bank from your mobile phone. It doesn't matter if you have a First Bank account or not, nor the mobile network you use. Everyone can open a First Money Wallet, and it's very easy. Your phone number is your account number. With First Money Wallet, you can send money using just a phone number, receive money, pay bills, buy airtime and data for yourself or someone else, and check balance. You don't need a bank account at all or BVN to enjoy the boundless possibilities First Money Wallet offers. All you need is a registered phone number, and you can fund your wallet easily through your First Bank account or any bank account and debit card. What's more, First Money Wallet is highly secure with fingerprint technology and PIN. And when you need cash, just walk up to any First Money agent near you to withdraw money. No smartphone, no wahala. Just dial *894*1# on any phone. So it doesn't matter if you live in the city or the remotest part of the country. With First Money Wallet, your transactions are easy, seamless, and secure. Download the First Money Wallet app now. Input your phone number and follow the prompts, or simply dial *894*1#. All money now on First Money. You first. First Bank.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. The presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Atiku Abubakar, on Monday, while speaking at the presidential dialogue with the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, NESG, called on Nigerians not to give power to the presidential candidates of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Atiku described Tinubu as a greenhorn on the national leader of the same party that brought Nigeria to the situation the country finds itself. He criticized the current administration, saying more Nigerians are poorer and more miserable now than in 2015. The PDP standard-bearer said he is the best candidate to rescue Nigeria due to his experience in economic reforms and management matters. On the effect of conflicts and insecurity on investments in the country, Atiku said his administration would take tough and difficult decisions on security matters without fear or favor. Joining us on the show this morning to discuss Atiku's visit to the Nigerian Economic Summit Group in Lagos, his trip last week to the UK at the invitation of the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, his chances in the coming election, is Professor Usman Yusuf, former Executive Secretary, NHIS, and a strong supporter of Atiku Abubakar's candidacy for president in 2023. Welcome to the morning show, Laji Usman.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. So the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Waziri Atiku Abubakar, was at the NESG Economic Summit to discuss his plans for the economy. His main focus was on, and he did highlight a number of challenges that the Nigerian economy is facing under the current APC government. He also highlighted or reiterated his 5-point agenda with responding to the economy. I'd like you to just give an overview of his outing at the NESG.
Yeah. So I was there with him. Nigerian Economic Summit Group. It's a group of economists and industry leaders that interrogate candidates on the economy and see what do they have as regards what they're going to do to the economy. These are very serious people, and I was there and I was very impressed. I come from academia where you talk data, where you sit down and digest, not the screaming of politicians. So for me, that was a good place for me, and I learned a lot, and I'm not an economist. So fellow Nigerians, we've said it before, we'll say it again. PDP, 2023 election will be nothing but a referendum on the 8 years stewardship of APC. They came on 3 things. They are going to improve the economy, they are going to improve security, and they are going to fight corruption. On all three counts, they have failed. Not only failed, they have failed woefully. And we say it again, we'll continue to say it. APC, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is the grandfather of APC. Nobody in APC will absolve himself or herself from the mess that APC has put us through. These are very serious times. Nigeria is in the ICU. It requires, I'm a physician, I'm a doctor, 41 years and counting. It requires, when a patient is in the ICU, it requires an experienced doctor, not a rookie. It requires somebody who is healthy, who is visionary, who has been there, who understands Nigeria and Nigerians. That person undoubtedly for me is Atiku Abubakar. He was interrogated by these eminent economists as to what he's going to do to the economy. Nigeria is essentially broke. Here we are, we inherited a debt in 2014 of 7.8 trillion. This government is leaving us with our children and grandchildren indebted to the tune of over 77 trillion. 77 trillion. Now we are servicing, whatever we get, we pay debt. We are servicing our debt more than we get. So Nigeria is broke. And here you are with this comedy and confusion with the CBN. I mean, insane claims. What is happening with the CBN governor and CBN will crash the economy, will crash the Naira. But everybody, you ask yourself, who is in charge here? The economy is in a mess. You need a steady hand. You need somebody who's been there, who's done it before. And that, in my opinion, undoubtedly is Atiku Abubakar. He answered all the questions put to him by these eminent economists yesterday. And I was very impressed.
Okay, so you're happy with the outcome of that meeting.
Yes.
Now, you said something that really is top of mind. I remember 2015 election. There was a lot of conversation, and being in the media then, I've been working with another platform. And I do remember quite a few people came on television and said Nigeria is broke in 2015. This is 2022. We're still saying Nigeria is broke. And we're saying we're going to find it difficult to find the finance or the fund to run our economy and to grow it. One of the areas that's being said to be a source of major problem for our economy is security. And I've had opportunity of having conversation with you on a number of occasions where we talked about security. Because if there is a level of insecurity, especially in the Northeast and the Northwest, then our food basket is decimated. What is your candidate going to do that will be different from what this government is doing to ensure that our food basket creates a security in terms of food?
Good. Briefly, let's talk about the economy briefly before we move here. This government came in over the last 8 years. What song have they been singing? That they're going to take 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in 10 years. So in 10 years, so every year they will take out 10 million. But here you are, Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, in October came out with the data. 133 million Nigerians are in multidimensional poverty. Multidimensional poverty. 65% of them are in the north. And of that, 35% are from the northwest, where I'm from, where the president is from. So you tell me, Nigerians should ask themselves, what have they been doing over the last 8 years? The president, they've inserted these in his speeches, several of his speeches. The vice president will be reading it over the teleprompter. We are going to take out 100 million. So they've just been talking. So they have failed when they, as far as the economy, and for me, this is real. I go back to Katsina, where I come from, and I see the poverty. Many villages, you take out 1,000 naira, go to the village square and ask for a change. Nobody can give you change. Our people are poorer today than they were before this APC government came in. Anybody associated with APC cannot absolve himself. Back to insecurity. For me, insecurity is real. And this is one of the reasons I came into this fight. I'm a physician. We came into this struggle because we must. Katsina, where I come from, where the presidents come from, we have 34 local governments. Of the 34, 30 local governments are under siege by bandits. A third of my state, the president's state, are under siege by bandits. We've never seen IDPs before this government came in. Today in my state, capital city is filling up with IDPs. We gave President Muhammadu Buhari 1.2 million votes in 2019. Lagos gave him half of that. What do we have to show for that in Katsina? Over the last 8 years stewardship of our son. What we have to show for that is death and destruction. Our villages have been pillaged, women raped, cattle rustled, and our people killed daily. And this is the story only in Katsina. All over, from Adamawa to Zamfara, we're still burying our dead every day. This is security. We are talking about farming and agriculture. Our people are not able to go to the farm because of insecurity. Bandits are have scared them off their land. Even if they go to the land, they have to pay levy. In some places in Zamfara, they burn the farm product. The primary responsibility, constitutional responsibility of government, Section 14, subsection 2B, is to provide security and the welfare of the people.
So if
on that count, this government has failed. What this government, what Atiku Abubakar will do, number one, I'm a physician. Yes. You do not write a prescription until you have a diagnosis.
Okay.
This President Muhammadu Buhari, admitted himself that of all the conflicts in this country, he said that, not me, in the palace of the Sultan of Sokoto, of all the conflicts in this country, it is this banditry that he does not understand. If the commander-in-chief does not understand a conflict, what are his orders to his commanders? How does he define success? So, first of all, you must understand. And that is the reason I and Sheikh Gumi ventured, not at the behest of any government, risked our lives, went into the forest in 8 northern states in this country to understand. Martin Luther King said, violence is the language of the unheard. We are Fulanis. We have our children doing this, and everybody is sitting down. If the state has failed, where are the statesmen? Every geopolitical zone, what we have is failure of leadership of the elders. Our children, we've lost control of them. That's why you have Boko Haram, Kanuri youth. Where are the elders?
All right, let me just come in here because you talked about Sheikh Gumi, and that's quite interesting because Sheikh Gumi has said that he describes bandits as our people, and is actually taking quite a soft stance with bandits. And here you are saying that side by side with the fact that the candidate you're supporting is going to take a high stance against insecurity should he become president. That's that's an oxymoron, isn't it?
No, there's no contradiction.
That side by side.
No, there's no contradiction. If you do not, and I'm not a spokesperson for Sheikh Gumi.
No, it's just because you mentioned him. That's because you said
we went into the forest,
to
understand. Good.
Okay.
What I'm saying, if you do not understand, if a leader does not understand a problem, how can you solve it? Even at home, if your kids are fighting, you don't slap everybody. You sit down and find out what the problem is. So understanding is a primary problem. And this is why we have this problem. If you do not understand, and we know what the problems are. And people in the South know what the grievances of IPOB are.
Okay, Prof, I'm still yet to hear from you. What will Atiku Abubakar do on security that will be different from what this government is doing?
First of all, understanding. If the government fails...
Does he understand it as of today?
Absolutely. We are making him understand.
Okay.
That is why we're here. We have invested our time. I didn't know Atiku Abubakar before this. But we needed to get to our leaders and make them understand the difference between Atiku Abubakar and President Muhammadu Buhari. Atiku Abubakar listens, and he's swayed by superior argument. The president is surrounded by people that do not want him to listen. So you listen, you make a diagnosis, you have a prescription. Number one, all the problems of banditry that I've invested my life over the last 3 years, I'm an oncologist. The primary of the cancer is in Zamfara. What we are seeing is the spread. We're going after the spread. Go to the primary and do the surgery in Zamfara. Understand it, involve everybody. And I've said it again and again, banditry is a social problem. There is a place for the military. There's not going to be a military solution to banditry. None. Never in the history of warfare have conflicts like this been won on the battlefield. The role of the military is to provide an enabling environment for dialogue and for issues to be sorted out. When the government is militarizing conflicts, you're not going to solve these problems. Military will not solve IPOB problem.
Okay.
Military will not solve, they will ameliorate that and provide the civil authority to find problems that they brought in. These are problems that were brought up by politicians. So your candidate's
perspective is...
He understands it very well.
Yeah.
And another thing, the military and security agencies, we do not have enough boots on the ground. You are buying Tucano jets and throwing from the sky when you do not have boots on the ground to man the ungoverned spaces. We need to have more boots on the ground to man all these places. Police. How many policemen do we have? And how many of them are guarding the big men? We need to rejig our security architecture that this government has been talking about over the last 8 years. It's just singing.
All right.
We know it, and we will work with our security agents to do the right thing.
So from our understanding, the same understanding and dialogue you're proposing, or what Waziri Atiku Abubakar would have with the bandits, would be the same for the agitators of Biafran agitators, Yoruba Nation agitators. So all of this, in terms of tackling security, he'll dialogue with them.
No.
He'll dialogue.
So what I am saying is that it is not the responsibility of the military to sit down with IPOB, Boko Haram, bandits and all that. Where are the elders?
Okay. All right, let's move away from that for a second.
Everybody must get involved in his region. That is why I said the emergence of Peter Obi on the political scene is a positive in this country, because I don't know if you noticed, it is quieting down that agitation and violence from the northeast.
Okay.
Because Igbo youth are now seeing a pathway. My hope and prayer is that Peter Obi is not if he loses. When he loses, continues to get engaged and quieten that and get those kids to see there's a better pathway than violence.
All right, I have two questions for you. Just number one, I'm glad you talked about Mr. Peter Obi, because the first question will be in relation to what he said and what you've just said. He said in his speech yesterday at Chatham House, when he was responding to questions, that Nigerians today, the ethnic tensions in Nigeria today are a result of injustice, unfairness, exclusion, and marginalization. So some people, some regions feel like they've been disadvantaged, or they are disadvantaged compared to other regions. Put that side by the fact that people are also saying that we've had 8 years of a Fulani man in power, and when we look at equitable distribution, fairness, the fact that every Nigerian feels included, that it is only fair that the next 4 years or 8 years should go to the South. What do you think about this? That's one. I'd like you to respond to that, because the candidate you're supporting is also from the north. That means that Nigeria is going to have a president from the northern part of Nigeria for at least 12 years, if not 16 years. Is that fair? And does that promote inclusion? Would that not aggravate agitations already? That's the first. The second one, the first part about him, he talked about the fact that he was coming in to respond to the economy as an experienced businessman, that he's worked in the private sector for a while, he's made money in this area. And this just brings up the question around the source of his wealth, because the APC's PCC had a press conference yesterday where they questioned the source of his wealth, citing the example of the special purpose vehicles, and which, during his time, saying that they siphoned government money into private accounts. And so that was that how can he prove the source of his income to set up universities, many businesses that he has? I'd like you to speak to those two things, please.
All right. You said, it's interesting. I saw it. What's the name of the spokesperson? The guy that screams.
It was a full retinue of them. There was Mr. Festus Keyamo, there was Mr. Dele Alake.
Good.
Yes, they had a number of people.
Good.
There.
So I'll talk about that before I talk about the others. So it was screaming and saying. So three things. I will not dignify what they said with comment, but I must, because you asked. Number one, you say, let he who has no sin cast the first stone. We're asking the source of wealth of Wazir Adamawa, but they are not asking the source of wealth of their principal. I'm not here going to talk about a social media thing. But fellow Nigerians, what I want to tell you is that the APC is drowning. 5 weeks to an election, they're saying they're losing it. So what are they doing? Throwing everything. And for us, look at the people that sat down and were talking. For us, the majority of Nigerians, 93 million Nigerians, they have confirmed what I've always said. And the APC is disconnected from the realities of our people. Realities of our people is that 133 million Nigerians are in poverty. In Katsina, a third of my state is under siege. Our people are being killed every day. And this is a ruling party that has had the stewardship of this country for 8 years. And these guys are coming to tell us, oh, this. You tell us what you're going to do. We are challenging what you've done over the last 8 years. They've nothing to do now. They've lost it. They are disconnected from realities of our people. And I had one of them scream and say, I will go to court if
they
the
have put
PCC,
a petition before
Yeah,
EFCC.
I will go to court. And there is this movie, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And there is this guy, Tuko. Say, if you gotta shoot, shoot, don't talk. And go to court. Wherever you wanna go, go. Is this what bothers our people? I've just come back from the Northwest, the 7 states in the Northwest that has 21 million eligible voters. They don't watch TV, they don't do this, they don't hear all we're talking about. The problem is how to eke a living. We are burying our dead. We are suffering from this much poverty. Before this government came in, 50 kilograms of rice was selling at 7,000. Now is 40,000. Rice is out of reach of the common man. And here you are, city folks from APC sitting and screaming in Abuja or wherever it is they're screaming. They're disconnected. We don't even know what they're talking about. And us responding to them is dignifying. Come tell us what you're going to do.
Yeah,
Come
but
explain.
Nigerians are also asking beyond the APC, PCC, and I just wanted you to just respond to it, directly in terms of the SPV's corruption cases against, corruption allegations, and put it that way, because he is innocent until proven guilty. But corruption allegations against Atiku Abubakar, and the fact that he's saying he's going to fight corruption, he's going to build the economy. People are saying that you haven't responded to the cases. You haven't said anything. You haven't defended yourself.
True. So allegations, do we sit down in studios and solve allegations? If there are allegations, take them to court. And I know about allegations in Nigeria. I was in the NHIS for 3 years. My stewardship at the NHIS, I went to fight corruption. The petitions all over. Based on allegations, I was suspended 3 times. I chose the pathway to honor. I refused to partake in the cocktail of corruption. And I have the badges to show for that. I have the scar to show for that. I fought corruption. This government has been talking about fighting corruption. APC government. One of those persons screaming on the TV yesterday is a serving minister in the cabinet talking about corruption. This is where we are. One single person, accountant general, was alleged to have taken 109 billion. 16.5 billion of that came from the NHIS. Oil bunkering. We've never seen this much. Look at the CBN governor. DSS is looking for him. This government is drowning in corruption, and we haven't seen the end of it until this government goes out. So it is about time APC government start writing aids, handing over notes.
Okay.
Instead of screaming and telling everybody is their fault.
Let me put the question in another way. If this was Peter Obi or Kwankwaso or Asiwaju Tinubu that is alleged to have enriched themselves through a project like the SPV, what would you say? What would be your response? Would you say that it is okay? Allegations are allegations.
And I don't think
they should go to court.
Yeah,
what would be your response?
And I don't think you heard me say it is okay. The key word you say is alleged.
Yes.
When it is alleged, it needs to be investigated, go to court,
or
do whatever. I'm coming. Go to court. We don't do that. There are people that are supposed to do all of that. The APC is drowning, has nothing to say to Nigerians. It is trying to distract our attention. We have been going from the edges of the Sahara, where I come, to the creeks of the Niger, telling Nigerians why it will be suicidal to re-elect APC again. The same party that has brought us into this mess over the last 8 years. We are in Lagos today, we'll be in Ekiti tomorrow. We'll be in Ondo, we'll be everywhere in the Southwest, telling our people, not in the studio, making allegations.
Sorry, if I can just ask before we move on to other things. Does this allegation worry you as a Nigerian that someone was in government and there are allegations very strong, albeit from somebody who's a whistleblower? Does it worry you that this allegation is coming at this time?
Good.
Does it bother you?
Good. So whistleblower, so why now? When did it happen? Was it yesterday? 20-something years ago? Right? So why now?
Well, the time
so let's talk about whistleblowing.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, I said it again and again. When I was in the NHIS, the whistle I blew was too loud for some ears. Over 13 banks in the Federal Republic of Nigeria are still holding NHIS money in billions. Everybody in this government knew I blew that whistle. Nobody heard. All of a sudden, this APC government is drowning, has nothing to tell Nigerians. Oh, it's bringing, 23 years ago, something happened. It's not for me. It's not for me.
Just because we're almost out of time. Time is immaterial. The question is, when we had Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu with the case in Chicago and, alleged drugs, him being involved in there, time was immaterial. Did he do it or didn't he do it? That's what Nigerians want to know. Because at the end of the day, it's not, and if you want to say that you want to abstain from responding, that's okay. However, it would be good for your presidential candidate to come out and speak to Nigerians about it. But to say that because they're coming out, irrespective of it, whether it happened 23 years ago, 10 years ago, did he or did he not take Nigerians' money for private use? That's what Nigerians want to know.
And you expect me to answer that?
That's why I said you don't have to answer. But
what I'm saying is that, if you want to say that for the cameras to hear, fine. But this question is not for me, and I'm not here to answer that.
Fair enough. So let's ask. What was the first question with regards to fairness? 8 years
good.
And then inclusion, promoting inclusion.
Good. You said that, and I've said it in several appearances. So this country, the Southwest and the Southeast, these two regions do not know diversity. The Southwest, 100% Yoruba Muslims and Christians. The Southeast, 100% Igbo, 100% Christians. That's why when you hear ethnicity come from these two geopolitical zones. You want to see diversity? Come to the north. In the north, Kaduna State alone has 53 ethnic groups. There is not a single state in all the 19 states in the country there's only one ethnic group or only one religion. We have lived in the north in peace with all our ethnic groups and religions. Politics is not about, is this guy, is this guy, is this guy. And I said, if President Goodluck Jonathan from Bayelsa State, the smallest state, Bayelsa State has only 8 local governments, and he was a minority. If President Goodluck Jonathan from the smallest state, from a small ethnic group, could become the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, guess who voted him? Not the 8 local governments. Bulk of his votes came from the north, particularly the northwest. President Olusegun Obasanjo, bulk of his votes came from the north. He didn't get the votes from the southwest. MKO Abiola defeated late Bashir Tofa from Kano. The north voted him. So the north has had a history of voting for people from all geopolitical zones, not with a gun on their head, not with any threat, not with any blackmail. If President Goodluck Jonathan could become the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria from the smallest state, from the smallest ethnic group, any ethnic group can become president.
So it's fair. It doesn't matter. So it's fair.
It's democracy.
All right.
It's
That's
democracy.
what I wanted to find out. Thank
Go
you
and
so
vote.
much. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yusuf Usman, former Executive Secretary, NHIS, for speaking to us this morning. It's time now for a short break. When we return, Oji Okpe will be here with details on what's trending. Stay with us. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much.
I've been running my business on my own, trying my best to get it to the next level, but I really need some help to get ahead. I know just what to do, I'll vote it for my loans, overdraft, step by step to my dream business, we vote. Salary earners, entrepreneurs, get your loans with no collateral. Quick sign up, zero paperwork, step by step to your dream business, we vote.
Vault is available to individuals, SMEs, and corporate customers. Download Vault by Polaris Bank from the Google Play Store or Apple App Store to get started today.
Esther, you're late again. Esther?
She's a wandering light in the darkness. She's beautiful. Oh, she's a superstar.
Morning, Esther.
She never let her mama down. She's beautiful. She know they fear. She know they ever got a hand for them.
No phones at the table, please. Esther? I love you too.
Got everything? Don't forget I'll pick you at 4.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Getting together for the first time in years was a little bit awkward. Grandpa still tried to entertain us. Mom was always stealing the spotlight from the kids. It wasn't until Grandma cracked a joke
That's my favorite prayer.
that we got back into our groove. In this festive, DSTV is making family time even better with an upgrade.
Stay connected to DSTV and we'll upgrade you to the next package for free.
My brother, my sister, una dey there? Listen make I clear una well. To win election, no be only say your vote na im plenty pass o. Before person fit win election for we country, the person must win 25% of vote for 2/3 of state plus the FCT for Nigeria. That one na for president. And governor must win the same thing for all local government area for the state. Na so our constitution put am o, and na so all our presido take become presido. All our governors na the same way them take win. So therefore, my people, our country big big, no be small, and we get different language, different religion, ethnic group nko. That one self dey nyafu. Now why nobody fit think say if you don't get north vote, abi south vote, abi east or west vote, you don't do. Na lie yo, except you collect vote from all over the country, you just dey bobo yourself. Make una tell everybody, make everybody for know now. Make you no for cause fight tomorrow. Na Center for Democracy and Development, CDD, with support from the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, FCDO, bring on this message.
My people, my name is Emeka. Mekus Kamat. Let me get all this motor. I don't learn my lesson. Somebody come buy motor for my hand, carry big money, come give me. Now when we get bust, now my eye open. I don't know say that 419 be. Now when EFCC babam, now they come bab me too. Now he make me they warn you. All of them when they do business like me, where they carry big money, when I go sometimes I go carry transfer, carry bring back. Yeah. They could not shine in my eye because the special control unit against money laundering, what they call SCUMO, they don't want to say if the money pass 5 million naira for individual, no collect them. If it pass 10 million naira for company, no collect them. Can I go where? Bank. If you not do them like that, 250,000 naira for every day where this offense happen. Or they go suspend your license, or they go cuckoo, shut them down, pata for your hand. No talk say, I know one you.
This message is from the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC.
This na Emeka. He like to dey keep money for her. As CBN deadline don dey near so. This one na wise Emeka. As he don hear say deadline dey near, he wan carry money go deposit for the right place with Access Bank.
It's time to spread your wings and fly. Reach for the sky.
Even if the bank too far, na to go to the nearest Access Closer agent. No carry last with your money.
Get up right now.
Money wey you deposit for Access Bank, na money wey go make your mind rest well. Don't let the money spoil for your hand, though. 10 million naira today, fit be 0 naira tomorrow. Oya o, Musa, Shade, Onyinye, carry your money go Access Bank or Access Closer agent wey near you. Access, more than banking.
Knowledge is power. Information is currency. Trust us to tell you what you need to hear. Welcome to the program. You're with Arise News in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. Breaking news, exclusive interviews, unrivaled analysis. It's you, the audience, who drives our agenda. We tell the stories that inform you, the stories that are important to you, and the stories that are about you. We are not every news channel. We are Arise News.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now is Oji Okwe with stories trending around the world. Hello, Oji. Good to see you. I can see how you're looking at you.
Oh, you tried. How are you, Kayode? I was saying, you didn't get the memo about the introduction.
I'm
watching the show. Don't worry. This is the best you can do. How are you, Kayode?
The style of Ruben, right? Well, Ruben is back tomorrow.
Yes, he is.
He will do it properly.
You've been doing well. Well done, Kayode. Good morning, Ayo.
Good morning,
Good to see you.
How are you
Beautiful
today?
morning.
You're always a sight for sore eyes.
Oh, yeah, the sweetest, Ayo, you are. Well, all right. Good morning to you, viewers. Here are some of the stories that are trending across the globe. In the United States, Reverend Beatrice King, the youngest daughter of the late civil rights leader, Martin Luther King Jr., admonished American leaders on Monday, which marked the 38th Federal King holiday, saying, leaders, especially politicians, often cheapen her father's legacy by only using his quotes in around the holiday, but are yet to fully embrace or act on lessons from her father. Martin Luther King was gunned down in Memphis in 1968 as he advocated for better pay and working conditions for the city's sanitation workers. He would have celebrated his 94th birthday on Sunday, January 15th. In Senegal, President Macky Sall has called for better road safety measures in the country after a second road accident this month killed 19 people on Monday. The bus driver was said to have been trying to avoid hitting a donkey when the bus collided with a vehicle in the north of the country. Last week, the president declared 3 days of mourning after a crash involving two buses left 40 people dead. The government also banned buses from traveling at night and ended the import of second-hand tires. In Nigeria, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, paid a condolence visit to the victims of a road accident at the University of Jos Teaching Hospital on Sunday. The victims were supporters of the party involved in a fatal accident which left 16 people dead and scores injured. The PDP flag bearer also donated 30 million naira to be used for the treatment of the victims.
An initial support towards medical attention and other expenses of 30 million naira so that they can get the best possible medical attention.
Under sports, FIFA announced on Monday that it is launching an investigation into the actions of the Argentina national team after they defeated France on penalties to win the 2022 World Cup final. The global governing body opened proceedings against the team for potentially violating several clauses of the FIFA disciplinary code during and after the showpiece event, namely clauses for fair play and player misconduct. Scenes from the Argentina squad celebration quickly went viral with controversial images of Aston Villa goalkeeper Emiliano Martinez mocking defeated forward Kylian Mbappe. He was also seen holding a doll with the striker's face struck on it, as well as calling for a moment of silence in the dressing room after the game to honor the death of Mbappe. Finally, under entertainment, Hollywood actor Richard E. Grant and TV presenter Alison Hammond have been announced as the hosts of the 2023 BAFTAs. Grant, who was nominated for an Oscar for his role in the crime biography Can You Ever Forgive Me, will host the 76th Annual Film Awards ceremony at the South Bank Centre's Royal Festival Hall in February. Over the weekend, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle were reportedly not invited to the star-studded BAFTA tea party in Los Angeles and may not be invited for the awards ceremonies amid the royal drama emanating from the release of their Netflix docu-series, Harry and Meghan, as well as Prince Harry's memoir, Spare, given that his estranged brother, Prince William, is the president of BAFTA. Well, let's begin what's trending. The presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi's Chatham House engagement in the United Kingdom on Monday has elicited several reactions from many Nigerians home and abroad.
One of several topics the former Anambra State governor discussed was how he intends to handle the power sector. Obi stated that if elected president, he will declare war on the power sector and fight the structure of the big boys who prevent the sector from functioning properly, and he'll destroy the structure of criminality that has kept Nigerians in poverty.
That is the structure we're trying to destroy, structure of criminality. That is what I mentioned, that Nigeria is being held captive. That structure is structure that has impoverished Nigeria. We will dismantle it. It will not be there. I assure you of that. We're going to turn around the power sector. Nigeria generates about, today, 56,000 megawatts of electricity for 200 million people. And South Africa, the second biggest in terms of economy in the continent,
5 to 6,000.
5 to 6,000, that's been 5 to 6,000, sorry. And South Africa, the second biggest economy, 60 million people, generates about 40 to 50,000. And South Africa, in the past 3 months, has declared emergency in power and said anybody can generate up to 100 megawatts without license. So somebody who is 60 million, generating about over 40,000, declared emergency. What do you think somebody with 2 million people generating 5 to 6,000 will do? War. I'm going to declare war on power, and I'll solve it. Anybody who stands on the way, so be it.
Well, outside the Chatham House, Nigerians in London gathered to meet with the Labour Party presidential candidate, where he promised that his administration, if elected, will create a better environment for diplomatic relations between the Nigerian embassy in the United Kingdom and other missions abroad.
What we say that the government will want to do requires sacrifice of all of us. We must build a better Nigeria. Yes. That's the way it is today.
Yes.
Because
a productive
we want
Nigeria.
where everyone and each of you will be proud to hold your green passport. Yes. And we are proud that if you have a problem, the Nigerian High Commission and Nigerian embassies will deal with it. Yes. The Nigerian where you are treated as a second-class citizen in the world. We will belong to this world, and we will show that Nigeria is a great country.
That is why I came to Chatham House. Yeah. That is why I came to Chatham House. A town hall different from Bellevue, Lulu, and Bulaba.
Well, you know where that soundbite, where he got that soundbite from. But you know, our international correspondent, John Cookson, was there live. You know, he also had an interview with the Labour Party presidential candidate, Peter Obi, you know, and, you know, he talked about the fact that the embassy was swarmed with a lot of obedience, which is quite different from when Tinubu went there at the Chatham House. A lot of successes at this event, Kayode.
Well, it's a very interesting one, I watched it yesterday, and I thought he handled himself superbly well. He handled the questions excellently well, and he ticked all the boxes, yes. All the right boxes. It was all ticked. And then the funny part of it was when I was going through some of the comments on social media, and I saw Peter Okoye's comment that he's so stingy, he's not sharing, he's not sharing the questions. That was quite funny. That is, everybody gets attacked. Anybody that does not get attacked on Twitter, it means you're not doing anything exciting or interesting. I was having a chat with Ayo this morning that even I, just being here a couple of minutes, and I'm getting attacks and darts thrown at me. Like,
welcome to the
club. Oh my gosh, yes, it happens. So the conversation at Chatham House was excellent. He did quite well in terms of rating. I think his rating would have gone really high globally now. And I think that's the essence of having candidates go to Chatham House, because they get a lot out of this. They're going to get benefits from it globally if they eventually emerge as the leader of Nigeria.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. I mean, including that last soundbite where he talked about creating a better working environment, between the embassies of the United Kingdom and, other missions abroad. I thought that was quite instructive. And this is, you could hear everyone in London applauding, because some of their, issues that they have in the United Kingdom is the frustration from the Nigerian embassies there. I thought that was quite fun.
I'm glad he responded to that. You could feel the excitement of the people. Audrey, people have always wondered that what is the value of our presidential candidates going to, to have conversations like this abroad. Chatham House, you had Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu go there earlier. On Thursday, the presidential candidate of the NNPP, Alhaji Rabiu Kakwanso, is going to also be there. INEC chair is meant to be there today. And so people have wondered, and I'm glad that we see, just like what Mr. K had said, that investors read the body language of the leaders sometimes, in terms of, do I trust, is this the kind of person that I would like to do business with in terms of attracting foreign investment? Very important. His rating, like you said, must have gone, shot up the roof. He mentioned some critical issues, and I think perhaps the best part of his appearance at Chatham House was his responses to questions. The questions were very intelligent, and they were also intelligently responded to.
Absolutely.
So, talking about diplomacy, the former British High Commissioner to Nigeria, Mr. Paul Arkwright, who was there, tweeted very enthusiastically about how well Mr. Peter Obi responded and his outing at Chatham House yesterday. So a few things he said, some key things he said that were very important. Number one was what he would do with regards to attracting investments in Nigeria, providing an enabling business environment and ensuring that there are policies that are made to make the business environment of Nigeria attractive to investors, comparing it to the bee and honey situation. Wherever you find honey, bees will naturally be attracted to it. He also talked about, some people had commented on his response on the IPOB Biafra question, saying that, he didn't condemn it. And what he said was that these agitations were founded on the fact that people felt marginalized. People felt like they weren't being, Nigeria isn't fair to their particular region. And so he said that in his government, he'll ensure that everyone feels included, that there'll be fairness, there'll be equity, and that he'll also have conversations with them. So that was a response. So he didn't exactly not respond to it. He just responded in a way that perhaps people didn't say he was going to finish them, take their, militarize the process, but spoke to that. And then he spoke about power. I thought that was also very interesting. Someone asked him around, private interest in power, how he was going to solve the issue of power. And he spoke quite decisively on that. So a number of key things that he mentioned. He talked about security as well. He talked about corruption as well. So many things to chat about his Chatham outing. And I must say, like you said, excellent outing.
Absolutely. All right, then we'll take another story. Reactions trailed the altercation between the All Progressives Congress presidential campaign and the People's Democratic Party over allegations levied against each other's respective flag bearers. On Monday, Festus Keyamo, the spokesperson of the APC Presidential Campaign Council, in a petition, asked the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to arrest Atiku Abubakar, Nigeria's former vice president, on offenses of money laundering, breach of the Code of Conduct Act, conspiracy and criminal breach of trust and misappropriation based on allegations made by Michael Achimugu, who claimed to be a former aide to the PDP candidate. Achimugu, in a series of social media posts, accused Atiku of using special purpose vehicles to commit financial fraud.
Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, who happens to be the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, during his tenure as Vice President of Nigeria between 1999 and 2007, colluded with his then boss, President Olusegun Obasanjo, to fleece the country and steal public funds using what he termed the Special Purpose Vehicle, SPVs. Those SPVs were companies Atiku admittedly registered upon assumption of office as vice president with the approval of President Olusegun Obasanjo using trusted allies. Let us play to you the voice recording of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar.
Give me 3 people you trust. Yes, sir. And I will prepare 3 companies.
From that audio tape alone, it is clear that Atiku Abubakar is a criminal. A criminal that should not only be arrested, he should also be jailed.
All right, let's take some tweets. This is from Courier, who wrote, "The hypocrisy in our political system is unparalleled. Imagine Keyamo asking for the arrest of Atiku for admitting to using siphoning companies, SPVs, while turning a blind eye on a similar company, Alpha Beta Consulting, milking Lagos State." While Blessed wrote, "FFK, who is standing trial for misappropriation of billions of naira when he was a minister, is calling on Atiku Abubakar to step down over the allegations of corruption. FFK has no moral right and should first resign from APC-PCC while EFCC probe #AtikuGate." Well, the spokesman of the PDP Presidential Campaign Council, Dino Melaye, during our nightly news program on Monday, claimed that the APC and Bola Ahmed Tinubu hired a chronic blackmailer to distract the campaign. He also alleged that Tinubu had been convicted as a drug baron in the United States and as such incapable of being the president of Nigeria.
All this you saw Mike doing is that Mike was hired by the APC and Tinubu to first go and malign the character of Atiku. Then afterwards, they will start coming up with all these type of shenanigans. Today, why is the petition to EFCC, to ICPC, and Code of Conduct written today? Why was it that it is the chamber of Festus Keyamo that wrote that petition? So I am telling you that this is the last time Dino Melaye, as spokesperson of Atiku, or the People's Democratic Party, will react to frivolity. We are not going to be distracted because we know that the main purpose of this is to distract us from focusing on the campaign and from telling Nigerians exactly what we want to do for them. Bola Ahmed Tinubu, you cannot give what you don't have. The house that Bola Ahmed is living in Asokoro today used to be the property of Lagos State government. His house on Bodilon used to be the property of Lagos State government. TVC television in Lagos is where their house, the headquarters where they are now, used to be the property of Lagos government. So, and we all know that this man has been indicted as a drug baron, convicted as a drug baron. Do you want Nigeria to produce Pablo as president and then produce Osama bin Laden as vice president? Do you want to destroy this country beyond the level, the magnitude that they have destroyed it today? Today, as I speak to you, many children are orphans. Many fathers, many wives, understand, have no husbands. And I'm telling you, just because of the incompetence and incapacitation of APC.
I can hear you guys cracking up. Well, all right, let me take a tweet before I come to you. Well, this is from Mwani, who wrote, "The clash of criminality is when Tinubu calls for the arrest and persecution of Atiku Abubakar, while Atiku's team reminds the drug lord of his drug-related conviction in the US. Indeed, you can't give what you don't have. Those who looted our treasury are scheming to outdo each other." I mean, Mwani's tweet is quite apt. But you know, there's been a lot of reaction to the #AtikuGate, and this is one of it, where Festus Keyamo has gone to the EFCC to demand for Atiku's arrest. But a lot of questions have been raised regarding the alleged spokesperson of the PDP. Why now, Ayo? Why is he coming out now?
Yeah. Okay, so the question, like I said to Professor Usman, who came in earlier, that to be fair, when it comes to you running for public office, they will dig up your past. Just be ready for that. So the timeliness of an accusation shouldn't really... the question is, did you or did you not do it? Should Nigerians trust you or should Nigerians not trust you? If the unfortunate thing is that when you are going for the highest office in the land, you're going to be held to the highest level of honor. And so if you're not, if you don't fit the bill, then people have the right to question that. So people saying, and then this, when watching that video, I'm like, is this what leadership in Nigeria has gotten to, whereby someone accuses you of saying, like, hey, you stole. It is, it is mind-blowing, and Nigerians deserve better. I'll just end it.
Absolutely. Kayode, really quickly, so.
Oh, well, it's, I was just thinking about it. I saw what Dino Melaye said, and it becomes really heartbreaking because you see Dele Alake, you see Festus Keyamo, you see even Femi Fani-Kayode, and then you see Dino Melaye's response. It is heartbreaking for me as a Nigerian, as a father who wants our children to grow up in an environment where things work.
Absolutely.
And if all you find is a situation where you have all this pontificating and they turn Nigeria into what some people have described as the theater of the absurd, where all kind of weird things are being said. Every serious issue that in other countries around the world will be something that is discussed and debated seriously and will be taken to court, and you see a result at the end of it, but we turn it into a joke. We turn it into a social media circus.
Right.
And we take it as it is okay. We can just continue. This is just today's conversation. This is just, all of this is just something that people will share and they will laugh and they will joke about it. And tomorrow another issue comes up and we'll joke about it. When is Nigeria going to change? When are we going to be able to discuss serious issues and stay on it until we see result so that we can move on and leave something for the next generation? All these heartbreaking stories that we have and we share and we laugh about, at some point it has to come to an end so that we can focus on the issue and get results.
Well said, Kayode, and well done on the morning show. I don't know when I'll see you again, but I guess we'll see soon. Yes. Dr. Bat is coming back tomorrow, right?
Yes.
Well, all right, Ayo, thank you both for your great analysis on what's trending. Well, that's all I have for you on what's trending today. I'll see you all tomorrow.
Well, that's all on this edition of Morning Show. Oliver Macpherson-Smith will be here to take you through the Global Business Report. And I'll say, please stay with us. And from Ayo.
Knowledge